सक्नुभएको छ आरतीजीले। म शिवानी थापा बस्नेत नेपाल टेलिभिजनसँग आबद्ध छु समाचार सम्पादकको रूपमा. And yes, indeed, it is a very humbling privilege for me today to be a part of this very, very important and relevant summit or a convergence. And I have the privilege, as I stated, to be steering you through the events of the day. That is the first day of the summit. On behalf of the organizers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the summit, which is getting set to start in a short while. Yes, we are very, very much humbled, gratified, and in fact honored by the presence of each and every one of you amidst us today. As we get set for the Nepal Power Investment Summit 2018, which will commence with the formal inauguration at the gracious presence of the Right Honorable President of Nepal, Ms. Bidya Devi Bhandare. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very much aware that it is the zeal for a common goal, a common focus point that we all are headed towards that has brought you all under this roof. What we as organizers are hoping, and are very confidently hoping, in fact, is to providing a strong and effective platform to transform that very zeal that you all bring along from across South Asia and elsewhere, and also from inside the country, into reality and get it all walking together in synergy, in fact. Thank you all one more time for making it to this moment amidst us today. Please be informed one more time that the inauguration ceremony, the formal inauguration ceremony, would commence right here at this stage, at this venue, right upon the arrival of our chief guest, that is the Right Honorable President of Nepal. And as we await for her arrival, we are expecting the arrival of the chief guest at about 10 or 10:15. That's about time when the inauguration ceremony begins. So here I would like to request you all to kindly stand as the President arrives inside the hall, and we extend her a warm welcome. And right upon the arrival of the President on stage, we will be hearing the national anthem of Nepal, and thereupon that would mark the commencement of the ceremony. Now, in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, let me take you through the summit and the 3 eventful days that we'll be spending here at the venue. Coming from the successful experience of the first summit on power investment, we come to you with a definite dream, determination, and a destination. And that is to enable Nepal harness 40,000 megawatts of renewable power in the next 10 years, ladies and gentlemen. The summit will also mark the launch of this project of 40,000 megawatts, as well as it also marks the launch of the Assemble Electric in Nepal. Now, the select roster of local, regional, and international speakers and experts, the deliberation topics and themes, and each and every activity under this roof for the next 3 days is designed to create the ambience which we believe would pave way for us all to head on the course in synergy and arrive on time or sooner, ladies and gentlemen, to the desired destination that we all are foreseeing at the moment. Specifically, day 1 would be all about deliberations, sharing of insights, perspectives, expert knowledge and views, particularly in relation to investment opportunities in Nepal, and also updates on regional market, which would continue into day 2, that's tomorrow, wherein we would delve in detail the challenges, issues, policy issues, the FDIs, etc., pertaining to the theme that we are gathered here, and so forth. Please do not please, ladies and gentlemen, do not miss the opportunity to visit the Energy Mart that we will be setting. We have, in fact, set up for you, and this would be held at the Rose Garden of this very venue. do visit therein, where you'll find national and international exhibitors and who will be launching as well as showcasing innovative and new technologies, products, and capacities. And one major highlight is, of course, the training from the front-running global trainers and companies. The training will be featured on the last day, that is the third day of the summit. And please find your way to the Madhavi Hall or the Malshri Hall for the registration that you have made for the training. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, as we claimed, we are bigger, better, and coming with more impetus and more determination this time. We are about 350 delegates, 350 plus delegates big this time. And as I stated earlier, we come with a more specific agenda and a more focused zeal so that we could head on a course to arrive at a destination towards taking Nepal and even the region towards a more brighter dawn. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, we will also witness the launch of a guidebook which would be telling us how to develop a hydro project on Nepal. I'm sure this is going to come handy to people, especially the investors and vendors coming from outside Nepal. And also we will witness the launch of making mineral quality drinking water from air machine and the likes throughout these events that will be showcased to you on these 3 days here at this very venue. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, I already stated to you, we are now awaiting the arrival of the chief guest, the Right Honorable Chief Guest, that is the President of Nepal, upon which the formal business here on stage shall begin. And in the meantime, I have a few a request to make, in fact, that is, I'm sure you all are carrying one of these, one or two of these. Can I see it in your hands? This doesn't look that good, but works wonders. If you have this, we would be very much indebted if you could put this on an inaudible mode. If you could switch it off, would be more than happy. But yes, if not, please put it on a silence mode. Thank you so much for all the cooperation that you have been rendering us. And especially, one more time, we are very much indebted for the gesture that you have already shown to us, which certainly adds impetus to the endeavor and the zeal that we come forth, and that is reflected in your presence. And we do hope, again, very confidently, that we would serve as per your expectations in the 3 days herein. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I stated we are looking forward towards 3 eventful days here at the Nepal Power Investment Summit 2018. And as you know that Nepal can create tremendous opportunities for renewable energy investors who can achieve a minimum net equity IRR of 25%, and also for contractors, consultants, and other vendors to explore Nepal for lucrative business opportunities. Various world-famous renewable energy companies like Andres, Voith, Toshiba, and Fortune 500 companies like China's South Industries Group, etc., have already established their offices in Nepal. That's just a few names that I could put forth here. But the need of the time is to create that synergy through through extending information and clearing the air on both sides to Nepal and then the keen investors, the domestic and the international, to let them know the opportunities, the challenges, the issues, and then, as I stated, to create a synergy and accelerate the momentum through which we can attain a goal sooner than we expected or we need. And that is what and why this event is taking place here at the summit. And the whole objective, again, is to inform and update the various stakeholders about the current policies and scenario of Nepal's energy sector. We also are looking forward to providing a platform to various investors, contractors, and financiers from around the world and Nepali energy developers to make deals at this summit. So I think this is one special and specific highlight where you can actually meet the people and know where the business is or where the opportunity is. Another important facet, as I said, is the trainings on various key topics such as engineering, procurement, construction, and financing, hydro equipment and renewable energy, which would be conducted at this very venue by world-renowned energy associations and Fortune 500 companies. And yes, it's all about providing an excellent opportunity for networking and high-level stakeholders from Nepal and all over the world. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed very, very much indebted to all the supporting hands. You can see all the great names here on the banner. We are indeed very, very gratified and indebted to the sponsors, the companies, the individuals who have come forth and extended a hand to give this boost to the endeavor that we conceptualized. And it was because of their help and support that we are able to sit here together and be talking like this, getting readied for the events throughout the 3 days herein. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, we certainly are awaiting the arrival of our Right Honorable Chief Guest. I shall join you shortly. So till then, I would request you to kindly be comfortable, settled on your seats, and yes, of course, the networking can proceed right from here. Thank you so much. I'll see you shortly. Yeah, getting back sooner than expected. This is to inform you that we are going live on EDC's Facebook page. So you can check out this, the live streaming of this whole event on EDC, that is the Energy Development Council's Facebook page. And yes, the whole inauguration program will be broadcast live on Nepal television. Thank you. So keep engaging into it. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as I stated earlier, we are headed now towards the commencement of the inauguration ceremony of the Nepal Power Investment Summit 2018. And as per the information received, the Right Honorable Chief Guest is on her way to this very venue, and we are expecting her at the venue anytime now. So as we prepare to begin the inauguration here on stage, allow me to invite and welcome, and yes, of course, introduce to you all our distinguished guests to be seated at the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, I have the pleasure of inviting up on the dais the Ambassador of India to Nepal, His Excellency Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, to invite up on stage the Ambassador of Bangladesh to Nepal, Her Excellency Ms. Mashfi Binti Sharma. And yes, we are pleased to invite up on stage the Ambassador of Germany to Nepal, His Excellency Mr. Roland Straffer. Thank you, Your Excellencies. Ladies and gentlemen, we also acknowledge the presence of high-ranking government officials who are here amidst us today, also the representatives from diplomatic missions and international agencies, the distinguished delegates from across South Asia, the Asian region, as well as from outside Asia, experts, business leaders, vendors, investors, financiers, contractors, consultants, enthusiasts, and yes, friends from the press. I reiterate one more time, we are very, very much humbled and gratified for the presence of each and every one of you amidst us at this very, very important and event, which we deem very relevant and are looking forward to making it a milestone by helping create a synergy amidst the like-minded and forward-looking people and entities. Once again, I thank you all on behalf of the organizers, and yes, at the moment, we are awaiting the arrival of the Right Honorable Chief Guest. Ladies and gentlemen, the inauguration session will be chaired by the chairperson of the Electricity Development Council, EDC, that is Mr. Sujit Acharya. Mr. Sujit Acharya, as well as other officials and members of EDC are at the moment stationed outside this venue to receive the Right Honorable Chief Guest. Upon the arrival of our Right Honorable Chief Guest and the chairperson of the session, we shall commence with the formal business up on stage. Thank you one more time for your cooperation and for bearing with us. I shall join you shortly. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking forward towards a more power-packed summit herein, which is a combination, as I said, of a conference, an energy mart, and international training programs, and many, many more milestone events that would be taking place under this very roof. We are, in fact, very, very much overwhelmed by the gesture that you all have reflected by your very enthusiastic presence amidst us at the inaugural of this power-packed summit here at Salty Crowley Plaza. It's with sheer gratitude that we extend our enthusiasm to you all, each and every one of you, for the presence that you have made and the great gesture that you have shown us. We also acknowledge, ladies and gentlemen, the presence of the Vice President of FNCCI, Mr. Chandra Prakash Thakal, as well as the President of the NRNA, that is the Non-Resident Nepalese Association, Mr. Bhavan Bhatta. And also we have high-ranking officials from the SARC Secretariat and from our event partners. We also acknowledge the presence of representatives from all our event partners. And one more time, each and every one of you, thank you once again. We are expecting the arrival of the Right Honorable Chief Guest any moment now. Thank you one more time for the cooperation that you have extended.
spirits in the next session. When the president is not here, then only spirit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Right Honourable Chief Guest would be arriving the venue in about a few minutes now. Just to keep you informed that we are going live on Nepal television, reaching the households of thousands of Nepalis in Nepal and abroad. And yes, we are also streaming live on the Facebook page of EDC, that's the Energy Development Council. So be connected. On our Facebook page, of course, and we will get you connected to the rest of the world on NTV, that is Nepal Television. And yes, we have a wide range of other media sponsors, including Sinhua, and then there is Bloomberg, and many more, which I would certainly be bringing to light in the sessions to come throughout the day. Ladies and gentlemen, may I announce the arrival of the chief guest of the inauguration ceremony of the Nepal Power Investment Summit 2018, the Right Honorable President of Nepal, Ms. Vidya Devi Bhandari. Let us all extend her a round of applause, and that is a warm welcome. And now, the national anthem of Nepal.
Sayuthunga fulka हामी एउटै माला नेपाली सार्वभौम भई फैलिएका मेची महाकाली Sayuthunga fulka हामी एउटै माला नेपाली सार्वभौम भई फैलिएका मेची महाकाली प्रकृतिका कोटि कोटि सम्पदाको आचल वीरहरूका राजधानी स्वतन्त्र र अचल ज्ञान भूमि शान्ति भूमि तराई पहाड हिमाल अखण्ड यो प्यारो हाम्रो मातृभूमि नेपाल बहुजाति भाषा धर्म संस्कृति छन् विशाल अग्रगामी राष्ट्र हाम्रो जय जय नेपाल.
Thank you, our Right Honourable Chief Guest, and to all the distinguished dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, to our Right Honourable Chief Guest, we are very, very much humbled and honoured by your gracious presence amidst us today. From where we all stand today, ladies and gentlemen, the future certainly will be different. We all know that. With the global trends rapidly changing, the underlying drivers like new technologies, greater environmental challenges, shift in economic and geopolitical power, all these factors are bound to reshape the economies of energy in the region and worldwide. Amidst all these ongoing upheavals, is the vibrantly transforming and emerging South Asia, basically given its resourcefulness, potential, and prospects. For the lesser economically vibrant nations like Nepal, which is on the cusp of change, I reiterate, at the cusp of change, this global transitional period is all but an opportunity. All structured and set for a new era, for a new dawn, Nepal knows very well that the only agenda now is economic prosperity and development. And energy is that ray, that rain, which looks the most promising and reliable to lead Nepal to the desired dawn. Today, this event, this effort is all about creating a strong and right ground for all this. The chief guest of today's inaugural ceremony, Right Honorable President of Nepal, Ms. Vidya Devi Bhandari, distinguished dignitaries, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nepal Power Investment Summit 2018, which, as we pledged, thank you, yes, we are very much eager to hear that, and which, as we pledged, is better, bigger, and of course is coming with a lot of promises. And it's all because of the support and the trust and the enthusiasm that each and every one of you inside this hall brings along. Energy Development Council, ladies and gentlemen, the entity behind this very summit is, you know, the umbrella organization that represents the entire energy sector of Nepal and encompassing Nepal's leading organizations of energy developers, associations, and financiers, and all other stakeholder entities. And this summit is an endeavor of the Council to help Nepal shift from a consumption economy towards an export rather. And to hear more and clear on this endeavor or a zeal, and to extend a formal welcome, I have the pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, of inviting the chair of this inaugural session, the chairperson of Energy Development Council, EDC, Mr. Sujit Acharya.
Right Honorable President, Your Excellencies, and all our friends and supporters who have gathered here, I would like to welcome all of you and thank all of you on behalf of the umbrella organization for the entire energy sector of Nepal, Energy Development Council, or EDC. EDC is the only energy association in Nepal that has representation from the government sector, the private sector, the communities, hydropower, solar, wind, various financial institutions, and various energy associations. We cover 80% of the entire energy sector of Nepal, except fossil fuels. EDC is also the first energy association to be formed after the establishment of the Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal, or as we fondly call it, New Nepal. EDC has forged partnerships with some of the world's largest energy associations and has been instrumental in leading the debate for energy independence and energy security. EDC's efforts are to create a Nepal that is electrified by clean, renewable energy produced domestically from the 11,641 rivers flowing all over our country, from the 5.5 hours of daily sunshine with highest radiation available in South Asia, and from all the other abundant renewable energy resources that this great nation has. In the next 5 years, EDC predicts the end of petroleum vehicles in Nepal. We predict Nepal to be the top destination in South Asia, not only to invest in power infrastructure, but also to use Nepal as the most beneficial destination to export products to the world's largest consumer market, that is South Asia and China, with 3 billion estimated consumers. Since you are here, I would like to introduce Nepal to all of you. On the historical side, you are now at the oldest country of the world, with more than 10,000 years of history. you're also at the world's first organized democracy. It is the birthplace of the world's oldest religions. From a place in Nepal called Damauli, the greatest Hindu monk, Krishna Dwapayam, whom we know as Ved Vyas, authored the 4 Vedas. Gautam Buddha, or Lord Gautam Buddha, with the 3 most important Buddhas of the Bhadrakalpa, were born right here in Lumbini, Nepal. The greatest architect of the Buddhist era, Arniko, who promulgated what you know as the pagoda-style architecture that has been used all over Asia, was born right here in Nepal. Dashing through time, here at the beginning of 2018, Nepal is the world's most democratic country. The beacon of freedom was never a founding principle of this country. Instead, it is the light in every Nepalese soul. In this country, you can speak whatever is on your mind without an inkling of a hesitation. It is because we do not know of anything else besides freedom. And with freedom comes real happiness. Maybe that is why CNN ranks Nepal as one of the top 5 coolest countries in the world. And cool here does not mean cold. In Nepal, the meaning of conservative and liberal are explained. We conserve the beautiful traditions celebrated by 128 versions of the people whom all converge together to be known as Nepalis. And yet we continually dare to liberate ourselves from the narrow-minded walls of stigma. 33% of all seats in our government is reserved now for our sisters. Citizenship to the 3rd gender are granted right here in Nepal. All types of political ideologies and thought are practiced right here in this country. And finally, here you are at the Nepal Power Investment Summit, maybe looking for something more than these anecdotes I just told you. As monks traverse the immense Himalayas for liberation, you have just traversed to the only place in the world that offers you duty and tax-free access to the world's largest consumer market, South Asia and China. So EDC says, assemble in Nepal. And when you do move here to start an assembly plant in the special economic zones of Nepal, you can drive your products into South Asian markets that are only 1 to 17 kilometers away, while China is located 126 to 150 kilometers away. To power these assembly plants, to end the usage of petroleum products, imported petroleum products and vehicles, and to convert our kitchens dependent on imported cooking gas, that in total takes 45% of our annual budget away. We need to use electricity generated through our rivers, our sun, our wind, and our renewable resources. We cannot afford to even grow at 10% a year, because even that would mean that us Nepalis would have to wait for another 40 years to reach the status of a prosperous nation. The solution EDC proposes through this summit is to develop 40,000 megawatts in the next 10 years. While our friendly neighbor India has declared to develop 100,000 megawatts of solar power in the next 4 years, 40,000 megawatts in the next 10 years is a realistic goal. The question may arise, where is the database of 40,000 megawatt of projects? And EDC will say we have made it. The question may also arise, where does the estimated $80 billion of financing to support this initiative come from? And EDC presents the EPC financing model as the solution. We already have one of our main sponsors offering up to $20 billion of EPC financing for qualified projects. The question may arise that even with a database of 40,000 megawatts and financing for it, how can we build this within 10 years? And EDC will say, it is time for the upcoming new stable government of Nepal to form an energy clearance committee at the Prime Minister's office and ensure all clearances are received within 1 year of application, so that we have 9 years to find financing and complete construction of the 40,000 megawatts. Because when we reach 40,000 megawatts, Nepal's per capita income reaches $5,000. This is our yardstick for a prosperous economy under the purchasing power parity terms. So please explore the economic opportunities of Nepal, and I am sure you will find more pleasant surprises. This summit will reveal to you that Nepal is indeed the powerhouse of South Asia, and it is the place where 3 billion consumers are accessible in the shortest distance tax-free. I leave you with my gratitude and wish each and every one of you to revel in the contents of a summit that is bound to have something of value to you and the time you are investing into it. Jai Nepal.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir, for setting the tone just right for the rest of the formalities here on stage. And yes, as reflected in the welcome remarks, enthusiasm is what we bring in bulk as we hope to dissect through the possibilities, potential, and challenges in the investment sector of energy in Nepal. And yes, we'll be hearing from policymakers, leaders in the sector, of course, experts in the domestic scene and from the global front throughout the 3 days of the summit herein. And I'm sure you'll be going back with a clear mindset of what to expect and what to bring back to Nepal. Thank you one more time to the chair of the session, ladies and gentlemen, and it's now the moment we all have been waiting for since morning today. Our relationship, as you know, with light is as old as our beginnings, and we've always been drawn towards light as it is all about brightness, its auspiciousness, its prosperity, and it brings along, as I said, brightness and dispels darkness. Today, for us all here who all are gathered herein, it has an added meaning and value. Please join me, ladies and gentlemen, to place a humble request to the Right Honorable President, the chief guest of the ceremony, to mark the inauguration of the Power Investment Summit 2018 by lighting the auspicious panas placed right towards the right of this stage. Thank you, Right Honorable President Ms. Vidya Devi Bhandari, for doing the honors. To our friends from outside, please be informed that lighting a traditional panas, an oil-fed lamp that is considered auspicious before any beginning in Nepali tradition. Sorry about this. Thank you for being a part of this auspiciousness, as I stated. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be hearing from on behalf of our dignitaries seated on the dais, and it's my pleasure, a shared pleasure and a privilege as well, to be inviting the Ambassador of India to Nepal, His Excellency Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri, to say a few words.
Your Excellency, Right Honorable President, the CEO of the Energy Development Council, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, and my colleagues from the Diplomatic Corps, senior government officials, friends from the private sector. Madam, thank you very much for giving me this honor. Shujit, you've actually honored my country, and I'm very grateful to you. To give me this honor of speaking at the inaugural session and in the presence of the Right Honorable President, I'm really grateful to you. I also want to congratulate you and the Energy Development Council for organizing today's summit, which is really most timely. I am glad to see so many participants from various countries, including from my own, and I'm very happy to see members from Arun 3 sitting somewhere at the back who would be speaking a little later. I'm sure all of us will benefit from the summit's deliberations, leveraging participants' experience and expertise. Your Excellency, before you arrived here, the young lady was introducing all of us, and she used the word Electricity Development Council. If you will allow me, she couldn't have been more right. Energy, sir, is certainly the key driver of economic growth in modern societies, but it's electric power which is really the key. And I'm very glad that much of the focus of what you said, Shujit, is focused on electric power, its generation. And thank you for conjoining Nepal and India, because we stand at that particular crossroads of being able to make this a true win-win situation. I'm very confident that in Nepal, you shall certainly focus on all the 4 pillars of energy access, energy efficiency, energy sustainability, and energy security. Friends, these are 4 buzzwords in the energy area. But please do remember that these are carefully crafted buzzwords in the international setting where developing countries and the developed countries come together. We try to balance each other's interests. Very important for the world, very important for sustainability, for climate change. But for us in the developing world, the key thing actually is energy access, and more so, if I may say, electricity, its production and its availability, and getting it to everyone. Nepal-India relations are, of course, based on shared geography, history, culture, civilizations, and the closest of people-to-people ties. We attach the highest priority to socio-economic development of our neighbors. In fact, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas is the motto of our government, and friendly country Nepal stands right at the top of that. Our cooperation in the field of power sector has also been long-standing and is growing. Today, around 400 megawatts of power from India reaches Nepal, including the city of Kathmandu, and we hope to be able to build further on this cross-border transmissions through the inauguration of these 2 new power lines at Kataiya Kusaha and Raxaul Parvanipur. During Prime Minister Right Honorable Sher Bahadur Dioba's recent visit to India, further agreements were signed which enable the additional import of 100 megawatts of power from India. Friends, you're all aware that for a long time we've been working and talking about building the power sector in Nepal for mutual benefit of Nepal and India. And Sujit, you were so right when you benchmarked the issue of that level of purchasing power parity, or rather that level of per capita GDP, $5,000, which in the United Nations is the median level for what you call countries which are above the threshold and which are below that. With a potential which was once judged at about 40,000 plus megawatts of power from about a total ability to generate of about 80,000 megawatts, 40,000 being what is economically feasible. I think you need to look very carefully, and you very rightly pointed out that this is the time and action needs to be done, because this is the time when you can take advantage of the cusp that you are in on development and move things forward. And hydropower certainly provides one of those absolute linchpins to getting this going. As I mentioned to you, I am very happy that insofar as the 900 megawatt Arun 3 project, finally after several years, we are at the point where go has already happened. We have the project team in place, we have the contractors in place, the machinery is already there, and a couple of weeks back, I was myself at the dam site, and I'm happy to say that work has actually begun. We would like to see progress on the other 900 megawatt project, the one at Upper Karnali. And I must tell you, for too long have we been pontificating on Pancheshwar and the Kosi multipurpose projects. We must try and get our acts together. And a few minutes later in the panel, I will have further opportunities, and I'd be happy to discuss my views and put my perspectives across to you. But I firmly believe that it's very easy to ask questions. And believe me, I come from a country which many know us as the country of the argumentative. However, what we really need to do is we need to find solutions. Your Excellency, Right Honorable President, a month or so back, Her Excellency, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, the Bangladesh Ambassador, and I were at a session dealing with power trading. And somebody mentioned out there, a well-known economist here in Nepal, who said that if it had been all left to the private sector, much would have been done. But I think we all live in democracies. It's extremely important that this society goes along, that we take care of what people need, that we meet the needs of sustainability. But at the same time, remember that growth comes from electric power, The more you have it, the more you'll be able to develop and give a better quality of life to your people and a higher HDI. I, in fact, look forward to the day when Nepal becomes a net exporter of electricity once the various hydroelectric projects which are being completed and power starts flowing from them. In the later session, we'll speak about these cross-border transmission lines. I must tell you, I'm very happy that between India and Nepal, we have a power trade agreement, which is the commonly known name for the cross-border transmission, interconnection, and grid connectivity. Let me also take advantage of standing here and give you all a thumbnail sketch of the energy situation in India and the economy in India. Several of you would have seen the latest IMF forecasts, which were put out in the context of the World Economic Summit at Davos, which said that India would once again from next year be the fastest growing large economy in the world. We expect our economy to grow fivefold by the year 2040. We expect manufacturing to account for 25% of GDP by 2022, as against the 16% now. As per certain estimates, India is poised to account for 1/4 of the incremental global energy demand by 2040. Our transport infrastructure is also expected to increase manifold. Commercial vehicle population of 30 million is projected to reach 56 million by 2040. The prospect of rapid growth places a large responsibility on the energy sector. Climate change and energy sustainability. We take these as a sacred duty. It is something that India does out of commitment, not out of compulsion. We have taken the lead in committing ourselves to a reduction of 33% in the carbon intensity of our GDP from the 2005 level over the next 15 years. We have done this despite our low starting point in per capita energy consumption. We are also committed to produce 40% of power from non-fossil fuel by 2030. We have set a most ambitious target of 175 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2022. Thanks to our efforts, capacities have increased and prices of renewable energy have crashed, in fact. It is also the stated objective of the Government of India to replace the entire fleet of hydrocarbon-driven vehicles by electric vehicles. While hydrocarbons will continue to play an important role in India's growth, our international commitments vis-à-vis global warming and climate change also mean that the renewable energy would comprise a larger proportion of India's energy mix. It is against this background that the opportunity for Nepal in the renewable energy sector becomes absolutely clear. Nepal has the potential, as I mentioned, to harness nearly 44,000 megawatts of economically exploitable hydropower. It is ideally poised to exploit this potential by way of speedy and timely execution of various hydro projects, which can then feed into the Indian grid. It is also supported by geography. As being a neighboring country, it can easily export its surplus power through various existing and planned transmission grids. However, and let me underline this, speed is of the essence if Nepal is to fulfill this huge energy demand, which is expected to be created in India in the foreseeable future. Otherwise, you may find yourself having missed the bus whereby fast evolving technology and other cheaper forms of renewable energy may render hydropower by itself somewhat economically difficult to sustain. Even as I speak, the world is witnessing a fast transformation to other forms of renewable energy like solar, wind, biomass, tidal, and so on, whose prices are falling dramatically on a daily basis. Therefore, the world is watching closely on how well Nepal manages its hydropower resources and speedily converts them into economic benefits for its people. Indeed, the success of various Indian projects in Nepal is also being closely monitored by other international investors. The success of these projects will be the litmus test for the inflow of future investments in this particular sector. Your Excellency, Right Honorable President, the CEO of the Energy Development Council, I want to thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity to share my views and to put across to you the potentials for mutually beneficial energy action on the part of India and Nepal, and for putting this together in a mutually manageable and a mutually run bridge to the benefits of both of us. I would, of course, urge, like you urged earlier, and I'm very confident that Nepal would take all necessary steps to speedily harness its hydro potential to the fullest in the very near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The cooperation, trust, and faith through thick and thin from the friend nations and the opportunity of learning from their expertise and successes has been crucial in the course of development for Nepal. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for your very positive and constructive reflections. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, we head forth towards one important part of this whole ceremony. As you all know, hydropower has fetched a worldwide attraction, especially in relation to investment in Nepal. However, we believe and feel that it's very much important for Nepal to put the message correctly across to any keen entities or investors, and also receive information on the latest trends, the global trends and technology from worldwide, which we believe is going to be very, very important in the course that Nepal is taking at the moment towards prosperity. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, we take a moment at this very important inauguration ceremony, this very August convergence, and at the gracious presence of the Right Honorable President of Nepal, to mark the launch of a guidebook for investment in the hydropower sector of Nepal. And as a gesture, we would now be presenting the guidebook to our chief guest, the Right Honorable President of Nepal. And ladies and gentlemen, the guidebook would now be handed over to the chairperson of the whole ceremony, Mr. Sujit Acharya, who will be presenting this guidebook to the Right Honorable chief guest as a gesture of making it public to all of us. Thank you, Madam President. This marks the launch of this guidebook, which we are very much confident would come handy to many of us seated at this convergence. And said that, ladies and gentlemen, I turn to the Honorable Chief Guest, the Right Honorable Chief Guest, the President of Nepal, Ms. Vidya Devi Bhandari, to kindly address the convergence here at the Nepal Power Investment Summit 2018.
कार्यक्रमका अध्यक्ष, महामहिम राजदूत तथा कूटनीतिज्ञहरू, आयोजक संस्थाका पदाधिकारीहरू, स्वदेशी तथा विदेशी प्रतिनिधिहरू, ऊर्जा क्षेत्रसँग सम्बन्धित विज्ञ तथा विशेषज्ञहरू, राष्ट्र सेवकहरू, भद्र महिला तथा सज्जनवृन्द, ऊर्जाको विकासमा महत्त्वपूर्ण योगदान पुर्याउने उद्देश्यले आयोजित नेपाल ऊर्जा लगानी शिखर सम्मेलनमा सहभागी स्वदेशी तथा विदेशी सबै प्रतिनिधिहरूलाई म हार्दिक स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु। ऊर्जा विकास, आपूर्ति र सङ्कट समष्टिगत रूपमा वर्तमान विश्वको एक जल्दो बल्दो विषयवस्तु भएको परिप्रेक्ष्यमा अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय क्षेत्रबाट समेत सम्भावित लगानीकर्ता एवं विज्ञ विशेषज्ञहरू समेत रहेर सम्मेलन आयोजना गरेकोमा आयोजकलाई धन्यवाद दिँदै सफलताको शुभकामना व्यक्त गर्दछु। मुलुकमा ठूलो राजनीतिक परिवर्तनपछि अब हाम्रा लागि सबैभन्दा महत्त्वपूर्ण विषय भनेको द्रुततर रूपमा आर्थिक वृद्धि हासिल गर्नु नै हो। देशको आर्थिक वृद्धि हासिल गर्ने लक्ष्यमा पूर्वाधार विकास हुनु अत्यन्त जरुरी छ। जलविद्युत विकास आफैमा पूर्वाधार विकास हो र यो समृद्धिको आधार पनि हो। वर्तमान विश्वमा वातावरण मैत्री ऊर्जाको विकास मूलतः जल, सौर्य, वायु र फोहोर मैलाबाट उत्पादन गरिएको छ। जलवायु परिवर्तनले ल्याएको असर र पेट्रोलियम पदार्थको अत्यधिक दोहनले वातावरणमा पारेको नकारात्मक प्रभावलाई ध्यानमा राखेर द्रुत रूपमा नवीकरणीय ऊर्जा विकासमा ध्यान पुग्नुपर्ने खाँचो रहेको छ। यस सन्दर्भमा देशमा प्राप्य ऊर्जाका सबै स्रोतको उचित अध्ययन, अनुसन्धान र खोजी गरी सोको विकास गरिनुपर्दछ। हाम्रो मुलुकमा ऊर्जा विकासको चर्चा गर्दा जलविद्युत नै नवीकरणीय, हरित र वातावरणीय मैत्री ऊर्जाको दिगो, भरपर्दो र महत्त्वपूर्ण आधार हो। हाम्रा लागि जलस्रोत प्रकृतिको अनुपम वरदान हो। नेपालमा उल्लेख्य सङ्ख्यामा अग्ला हिमशिखरहरू रहेकाले हिम नदीको प्राचुर्यताका कारण 6000 भन्दा बढी नदीहरू यहाँ रहेका छन्। यहाँको कतिपय क्षेत्रको भौगोलिक बनोट वायु ऊर्जाका लागि समेत अनुकूल हुन सक्ने कुरामा यथोचित ध्यान पुग्नुपर्छ भन्ने मलाई लागेको छ। बहुउपयोगी यस अमूल्य स्रोतको सदुपयोग गर्नु हाम्रो महत्त्वपूर्ण दायित्व हो। एकातर्फ हाम्रो अथाह प्राकृतिक स्रोत बगेर त्यसै खेर गइरहेको छ भने अर्कातर्फ जनसङ्ख्याको ठूलो हिस्सा न्यूनतम विद्युत उपयोगको सुविधाबाट समेत वञ्चित हुन परिरहेको छ। यहाँ सहभागी भई लगानी गर्न उत्सुक रहनुभएका प्रतिनिधिहरूले एकचोटि कल्पना गर्नुहोस्, जुन मुलुकमा दशकौं पूर्व गरिएको अध्ययनमा 83,000 मेगावाट विद्युत उत्पादन हुने सम्भाव्यता राख्दछ भने अहिले हाम्रो उत्पादन 1,000 मेगावाटको वरपर मात्रै छ। बढ्दो पूर्वाधारको विकास तथा नयाँ प्रविधिको प्रयोगबाट हाम्रो वास्तविक सम्भाव्यता हाल अनुमानित क्षमता भन्दा निकै बढी पनि हुन सक्दछ। यस्तो उर्वर क्षेत्रमा लगानी गर्ने अवसर पाउनु यहाँका लागि पनि खुसीको विषय हो भन्ने मलाई लाग्दछ। तसर्थ देशको अपार जलस्रोतको सदुपयोग गर्ने कार्यमा सक्रियतापूर्वक लाग्न स्वदेशी तथा विदेशी लगानीकर्तालाई म आह्वान गर्न चाहन्छु। लगानीकर्ताको हित र वास्तविक आवश्यकताप्रति उचित ध्यान दिई देशमा लगानीको वातावरण अनुकूल बनाउन सरकार प्रतिबद्ध रहने कुरा यसै मञ्चबाट पनि आश्वस्त गराउन चाहन्छु। साथै यस सम्मेलनका अवसरमा ऊर्जा क्षेत्रमा विकसित नयाँ प्रविधि, सिप, ज्ञानको उजागर हुनुका साथै महत्त्वपूर्ण रहेको लगानी मैत्री वातावरण बनाउन सहयोग पुग्ने मैले विश्वास लिएको छु। ठूला आयोजनाहरूको कार्यान्वयनमा पुँजी, प्रविधि, बजारको सम्भाव्यता तथा छिमेकी मुलुकहरूसँग प्रसारण सुविधाको विकास जस्ता विषय आवश्यक भएको परिवेशमा जलस्रोतमा बाह्य लगानी आकर्षित गर्न सरकारले हर तरहले उच्च प्राथमिकता दिनेछ। विश्वमा विद्युतको माग दिन प्रतिदिन बढिरहेको छ, तर आपूर्ति हुन सकिरहेको छैन। त्यसमा पनि द्रुत गतिमा विकासको अपेक्षा गरिएको नेपाल र दक्षिण एसियाको विकासका लागि विद्युतको आवश्यकता अति नै खड्किएको छ। यस्तो अवस्थामा जलविद्युतका क्षेत्रमा लगानी गर्ने अवसर जुट्नु यहाँहरूको लागि सुखद पक्ष हो भन्ने मैले महसुस गरेको छु। नेपालमा हुने जलविद्युतको विकासले छिमेकी मुलुकलाई पनि सहयोग पुग्ने र अन्ततः यस क्षेत्रकै अर्थतन्त्र विकासमा मद्दत पुग्ने मैले विश्वास लिएको छु। तसर्थ नेपालमा जलविद्युत विकास गार्हस्थ तथा औद्योगिकरण समेतको आन्तरिक मागको खपत र छिमेकी मुलुकहरूको आवश्यकताको परिपूर्तिको बलियो सम्भाग बन्न सक्ने कुरामा दुई मत छैन। अन्तमा यस प्रकारको महत्त्वपूर्ण सम्मेलन आयोजना गरेकोमा धन्यवाद दिँदै पुनः सम्मेलनको पूर्ण सफलताको कामना गर्दछु। मलाई विश्वास छ यसमा हुने अन्तर्क्रियाले देशमा जलस्रोतको दिगो विकास गर्नका लागि व्यावहारिक र प्रभावकारी रणनीति निर्माण गर्न र सहजीकरणको भूमिका निर्वाह गर्न सरकार समक्ष ठोस सुझाव दिनेछ। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Right Honourable President Ms. Vidya Devi Bhandari. With the permission of the Chief Guest and the Chairperson, I take a moment to convey this message across to our foreign delegates herein. Ladies and gentlemen, in her speech, the Right Honourable President extended a warm welcome to each and every delegate coming from the various nations, and especially to the enthusiasts who, she said, come here with the will to contribute in the energy development of Nepal. And she also took the opportunity to thank the organizers for coming up with this very important summit and conference. And she stated that after the political transformation or change, the aim of the national aim at the moment is economic prosperity, and development is key to fostering or adding impetus to all these needs. She stated that climate change and the demand and deficit of the petroleum products and other energy sources certainly creates or adds more value and need to harnessing the renewable resources for energy in the country, in region, and the world and worldwide. And she stated that in Nepal at the moment, hydropower or the hydro energy is looking as one of the most reliable, eco-friendly source or the means to harness this aspired aspiration that we all carry. And it certainly is a blessing to Nepal as well. And that utilizing the source, the various renewable source, and especially the hydropower, which comes with a lot of potential, is also a responsibility for Nepal, Nepalis, and those who love Nepal and do care. She stated that on the one hand, we are unable to reap or make use from the immense resource that we have been blessed with, and on the other, there is a large number of people or population which is perishing under darkness, that is in the absence of electricity, and that the prospects and potential of hydropower in Nepal were identified long ago. And we, at this point, at today's context, we can even reap more than expected from these resources that we are blessed in. She also called upon all the national and international investors to invest in Nepal, especially in the sector, hydropower sector and the renewable energy sector, as she extended commitment on behalf of the government to make reforms in policy and in creating an ambience for investment in the country. She stated that the government has given high priority to enable cooperation from prospective investors, from the friend nations and development partners. And she also held the belief that this would, the harnessing of the aspired power and the targeted power and potential in Nepal would also help the neighboring nations and the region as a whole. and that there is no doubt to the prospect that Nepal holds to illuminate the region itself, and also held the belief that the output coming from the deliberation, interaction, and this very distinguished and expert convergence in Kathmandu would reap recommendations and suggestions to the government, and which would enable as well as facilitate the Nepal government to improvise or do the necessary to give back from its side. That was what the Right Honourable President stated in her speech. I once again take this opportunity on behalf of the organizers and on behalf of all of us to extend our deepest gratitude to the Right Honourable President for extending this very valuable time. And we consider this as a great gesture, a very positive gesture, and the sensitivity of the leadership towards the development of Nepal and the welfare of Nepalese. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, we now arrive to the end of the inaugural ceremony. And as I extend on behalf of the organizers once again, deep-found gratitude to the Right Honourable Chief Guest, to their excellencies on stage, to each and every one of you, especially all the keen and enthusiastic, the stakeholders, the investors, the contractors, the financiers, and everyone who's coming with all the expertise, skill, and moreover the zeal to share and give to Nepal. Deep-found gratitude for coming over, and we certainly are looking ahead very positively, and especially in the 3 days that we are here, and then in the days to come, because we're not looking ahead for a year or two, but we're looking ahead to a road that is, at least for the moment, 10 years long. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to a close of this inaugural ceremony, and I have the pleasure of inviting the members of the Energy Development Council up on stage for a photo opportunity with the Right Honourable Chief Guest. Before the Right Honourable Chief Guest takes leave from this forum. Well, thank you very much, the EDC members, and thank you one more time to the Right Honourable Chief Guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I now announce the departure of the Right Honourable President of Nepal from this very venue. And as I extend my deepest gratitude one more time to the Right Honourable Chief Guest, to their excellencies, and to all the high dignitaries and esteemed invitees herein, I announce the close of this inaugural session. Thank you once again, and I'd like to request you all to kindly settle down, be seated, because we are not taking any break herein. We are almost 10 minutes running late from our schedule, so here we will be moving ahead with the rest of the business, which are even more important for us at the Nepal Power Investment Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, now we are already setting foot towards the rest of the business here at the Nepal Power Investment Summit. I'd like to request all the delegates to kindly be seated, as we are not taking a break and heading straight towards the first business of the day. Before I even proceed, I have a few house rules to share with you all, and that is one more time, it is the mobile phones. If you all are carrying, I'm sure you all are carrying the mobile phones with you all, please keep it on an inaudible mode. That's a request, and we do seek cooperation from your side. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a few requests, a very humble request, especially to the moderators and the speakers. If you can see this, I have two cards herein. We are, the secretariat is seated at that desk right there towards the right of the room. So these are signals or a cue to the speakers or the moderators that if we are showing you this card means you are nearing the end of your time limit, and a pink card means please wrap up. In case you cannot see the cards that we show to you, you can always follow this, this music. Can you hear this? All right. So I was supposed to bring my dear friend Ms. Bella with me, but she couldn't, be present herein. So this very soothing music to the ear certainly wouldn't be music to the speakers. This would be a request, a very humble request for them to kindly get things wrapped up. This is just because we all do come with a lot of things to share at this forum. We just want to hear a lot of things as well. But there is only one constant which is going to prevail throughout the 3 days, and that is time. And I have that responsibility to keep you on track. Ladies and gentlemen, said that, we now proceed towards the first session of the day. Before we even do that, let me tell you that throughout today we will be engaging in 3 important thematic sessions. The first one is the power investment opportunities in Nepal. The second is the regional market updates, and the third is on investment opportunity evaluation of renewable energy in Nepal. I'm sure you all have this booklet with you. Do follow this. If you need any help or guidance, do not forget to contact our help desk. And now I turn to our distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I take a moment to thank His Excellency, the German Ambassador. If you could kindly be seated, if you could descend down and be seated on the front row, sir, we would be very, very much thankful as we are looking forward now towards the first session of the day, that is the Power Investment Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very, very much proud and privileged to inform you or let you know that this particular session will be chaired by His Excellency, Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri, the Ambassador of India to Nepal. And before we even move ahead with the rest of the introduction, I have the pleasure to invite to the podium one more time the chair of the session, His Excellency Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri, to shed light and share with us his perspectives and insights on the theme that we have come up with as part of the first business of the day.
Thank you very much, madam. I see that I'll have to make some kind of an effort to at least wean the people back from the tea room. Well, let's give it a shot. Friends, the session is entitled Power Investment Opportunities in Nepal. Obviously, in asking me to chair this session, and you've already heard me speak in the inaugural, I would imagine that much of the interest is on looking at how could you attract both foreigners as well as domestic investors into the power sector in Nepal. We have a panel discussion after this on regional market analysis and so on. But let me share with you just a few points to amplify what I said when I spoke earlier. What is it that would drive investment in any sector. And the power sector and the hydropower sector can be no different than that. First and foremost has got to be the commercial viabilities. To make these things happen, you need stable policy situations, you need long-term policy stability, given the gestation period for hydropower projects, especially large ones. And of course, then we have the aspect of a certain amount of investments taking place because of various geopolitical and strategic reasons. But we are sitting here among business people, and I think I want to address all of you. And my understanding is that for all of you, nothing matters more than the bottom line. If that is the case, then I think we should focus ourselves on what is it that makes these particular investments profitable, contributing to the bottom line, and therefore attractive commercially. Let me look at 3 areas. The first is the area of small projects, whether they are solar or they are hydropower projects. The second area that I would try and focus myself on are transmission lines and so on. And thirdly, the entire area of large dams. So let's look at the first one. I'm very happy to note that over the past few years, there has been a perceptible increase in investment in Nepal in the small hydropower projects, with people looking at hydropower as well as in solar energy. And I'm happy that some of my own friends from India have joined partners in Nepal and are investing in small projects. Given the diversity of Nepal, the geographic diversity, and the sheer length of Nepal, these projects become inevitable. They allow for local generation, they allow for local availability of power, and they allow for life to become immeasurably better for places which did not have access to electricity earlier. Their ability to contribute to large grids, however, is limited. And their ability to truly contribute to game-changing effects is also limited. That doesn't mean that they are not important. They are extremely important. And indeed, all over the world, including in my country, we're making tremendous efforts to push for small, even off-grid productions of small-scale electric power generation through solar, through wind, through biomass, and of course through hydropower. In my opinion, Nepal is beautifully poised in this particular area. Your geography, the willingness of the government, the openness makes this quite easy and very much doable. What you really need is some elements of tweaking, bringing in foreign direct investment, and some elements of tweaking the banking regulations with plowing back the profits to those who made these particular investments. Next, let me look at transmission lines. Obviously, most of these focus are in terms of the transmission lines across the border, and then there are the transmission lines through Nepal and within Nepal. And there we must recognize the huge amount of effort that's gone in between the Nepal side and the United States in the Millennium Challenge projects and what is being planned here. And I'm very happy that several of these things are going to take place. But I want to tell you that once again, these things cannot simply be those of what are called development partnership or development cooperation projects. There has to be meaningful commercial interaction, i.e. both sides need to gain. We see this happening in several of our areas. Now, up to a point, it is very possible that you do a certain amount of cross-subsidization, you look at various things across the world, you look at your interests, but after that, companies, including those in the public sector in countries like India, need to produce a bottom line which reflects well and which in the stock exchange and in the area of business can be appreciated. That's not possible if there's not enough remuneration, if the project costs cannot be amortized in due time, and if there is no commercial viability. So I think you really need to look at the fact that I'm afraid tariffs need to be adjusted, they need to be made competitive, should I say, and they need to be such that we are in a position to be able to ensure that we do build these lines, we build them in a timely manner. We also need to raise finances. Now there's enough money available in the capital markets, but we need to be able to tap it, because merely trying to turn to development partnership providers, I don't think is going to be the answer. And given the scale at which Nepal would benefit as a result of more hydropower being available, I think we have no choice but to turn to private capital. And private capital needs to be returned in terms of the investments that they put in. The bottom line needs to be fulfilled. And let me look at the third thing. And I hope by then the rest of the panelists would have arrived and we could begin the discussion on regional markets. The third are big dams, storage in particular. I want to just make one point to all of you to tell you where I stand on it. I fully appreciate the utility of small projects. I appreciate off-grid projects, and I appreciate small solar as well as hydro projects. But let me tell you, if you want to bring about game-changing effects for the economy of the entire country, then there's no substitute from large-scale projects which generate huge amounts of surpluses, which can get plowed into the economy, which can get plowed into the local communities, and which bring about game-changing situations as far as the economy and the society of the country is concerned. I'm afraid whichever way we look at it, and if we look at it historically across the world, the United States benefited hugely by construction of massive dams, the Hoover Dam, the Tennessee Valley Authority. My country in India, I come from the northern state of Punjab. Nothing could have been a greater game changer for us than the Bhakra Nangal Dam, which was built in the late 50s, in the early 1960s. Today in Gujarat, in Madhya Pradesh, in India, in central India, the Narmada project is bringing about such game-changing situations for people that they are able to enjoy the fruits of modern life, the comforts, the better quality of life that we all cherish for. I'm afraid this will have to be done. And on this, we need to also understand that as these other areas of technology, the issues dealing with solar power, look at the fast-growing technological leaps in the area of solar power. Look at what is happening in other areas such as wind power. Please note that the large hydroelectric powers, they need to not only require huge amounts of capital, but they need this particular capital to be such that it pays itself back within the period of amortization. The rest of it is fine, but it's too late. And I want to draw your attention to just one simple fact. The cost of generation of power in any of these large hydroelectric projects, whether in my country or in Nepal, is somewhere in the region of about 4 Indian rupees per unit. We have just held auctions in India for solar power where it has gone for as little as 2.5 Indian rupees. Please bear this in mind. Time may just be running out. We've seen this in the area of several other areas of hydrocarbons. We've seen it for those who are rich in hydrocarbons, what has happened. My country has some of the largest coal deposits, and you know what exactly we are able to do with them. Please note, this is exactly what is the important thing, i.e. time. Time is of the essence. And time is of the essence, in particular, if you have to leverage markets to raise the funds which are required for these large projects, which can have truly large impacts in the society and make large numbers of people enjoy the fruits of a modern society. I want to thank you very much for your attention. I think I've had more than my fair share of opportunity to speak at this summit today, and I want to thank the organizers. I believe we now have a panel discussion on regional markets, which Dr. Poshraj Pandey is supposed to chair, and Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Bangladesh, me, and a few others are supposed to participate in. I take it I can hand the floor over to the organizers and allow myself the luxury of being a participant in a session that I'm chairing myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you so much for the humility and, of course, for all that enthusiasm and spirit that you bring along. Yes, sir, I wouldn't want to hold you back for long. You can kindly please be seated up here. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are now headed for the panel discussion that His Excellency just shared to you all about. And yes, I take this forum one more time on behalf of the organizers to extend gratitude to His Excellency, Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri, for, agreeing to be the chair and, to bring in all this positivism to this endeavor that we have undertaken. We were, because of, all the sort of distractions that we had earlier on, we made this slight change herein. So with my due apologies to His Excellency, allow me now to shed more light on his persona as I introduce him to you all one more time as the chair of the session. His Excellency, Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri, ladies and gentlemen, assumed charge as Ambassador of India to Nepal on March 25, 2017. Prior to Kathmandu, he was Ambassador of India in Brussels from 2014 to 2017, accredited to the European Union, Belgium, and Luxembourg. Earlier, he had served as Ambassador and Deputy Permanent Representative of India to the United Nations in New York from 2009 to 2013. He was a senior member of India's Security Council team during the years 2011 to 2012, when India served on the Security Council. In Delhi, he has served as Joint Secretary, especially on UN and Economic and Social, and Deputy Chief of Protocol. He holds a master's degree in management and has a BA honors in economics from St. Stephen's College, Delhi. Ladies and gentlemen, can we hear it for the chair of the session, His Excellency Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri. I now have the privilege to introduce to you the moderator of this panel, which one more time is themed at Power Investment Opportunities in Nepal. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Poshraj Pandey, the Executive Chairman of SOTI, South Asia Watch on Trade, Economic and Environment. He is a trade expert in Nepal, as you all know, and a former member of the National Planning Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this. Our panelist of the session, Her Excellency Ms. Mashfi Binte Shams, the Ambassador of Bangladesh to Nepal. She joined Bangladesh Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1991, is the Ambassador of Bangladesh to Nepal at the moment, as we all know. She has served in Bangladesh missions abroad, namely Rome, Bangkok, and New Delhi, in various capacities, including Deputy High Commissioner in Bangladesh High Commission, New Delhi. While serving in the ministry, she has worked in various wings, including international organizations, Far East Budget and Expenditure Control, SAARC, and South Asia. She has represented Bangladesh in many bilateral, regional, and multilateral meetings, and during her tenure as Director General in South Asia, she dealt with Bangladesh's bilateral relations with the 7 South Asian countries. Ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished panelist, Her Excellency Mashfi Binte Shams. Our next panelist is Mr. Suthifand Shirathivad, if I may invite him up on stage. Mr. Shirathivad is a professor emeritus of economics at Chulalongkorn University. He is also the executive director of ASEAN Studies Center and chairman of Chula Global Network. He was dean of faculty of economics, chairman of the PhD program in economics, chairman of Economics Research Center and Center of International Economics at Chulalongkorn University. His academic interests involve the issues related to international trade, investment, finance, regional integration and development, and emerging issues in Asia in relation to the global economy and society. Our distinguished panelist, Mr. Sutifand Shirathivat, ladies and gentlemen. Last but not the least, I have the pleasure of inviting on stage our other distinguished panelist, Mr. Vaikuntha Aryal, the Acting Secretary at the National Natural Resources and Fiscal Commission, the Government of Nepal. So done with the introduction part, ladies and gentlemen. Before I hand over the floor to our distinguished moderator, please allow me to inform you all that our Twitter handle is at EDCNPIS, at EDC as in Energy Development Council, and NPIS as in Nepal Power Investment Summit. And also we are trending as hashtag NPIS 2018, that is Nepal Power Investment Summit, NPIS 2018. One more time, we're trending hashtag NPIS 2018. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I have the privilege now to hand over the floor to the moderator, Dr. Posh Raz Pandey.
Thank you. Good morning. Chair of the session, Your Excellency, distinguished panelists and participants. And as told by the organizer, they have asked me to make this session as informal as possible. That's why I'm standing over here. I'm not going to sit there, and I'll put questions, from here only. Well, before I start the session, let me clarify some rules of the game. In this session, we have 4 distinguished panelists. His Excellency Puri, Her Excellency Mashfi, and our young and dynamic Secretary, Government of Nepal, Dr. Vaikuntha Aryal, and Professor Sutifand. But time has just allocated 50 minutes, 50 minutes. And I think we have already exhausted around 10, 12 minutes. So, for initial discussion, I would like to allocate maybe 30 minutes for the panelists, 25 to 30 minutes. That means maybe 8 to 10 minutes for each of the panelists. And maybe 15, 20 minutes, rest 15, 20 minutes for the floor and response from the panel. Well, before I start, let me provide some background information on the potential of energy generation, particularly hydropower generation in Nepal, and the state of energy demand in the region. Well, let me start with some cliche. The largest available renewable energy source for Nepal is hydropower, and its theoretical potential, as all of you know, is 83,000 megawatts, and economically viable hydropower, hydro capacity is 42, and some of the experts, they say if we optimize this production of our generations, we can increase from 42,000 to much at a higher level. And in addition to hydropower, Nepal has also, as our Ambassador Puri already indicated, we have also potential of solar and wind energy. And despite all this potential, the current installed capacity is about 800 in our more than 100 years of history of electricity generation in Nepal. And if you look at this 800 that provides meets only 2/3 of our demand. And looking at our development plan and our development aspirations, it is projected that by 2030, when we reach at middle income level, our total demand would be around 6,000 megawatts. And at the regional level, I mean, here we are talking about, market analysis, power market analysis at the regional level. And at the regional level, I mean, South Asia is the fastest growing economy. And our growth, I mean, as per, if you look at, I mean, maybe for 1.5 to 2 decades, it's around 7%, our aspiration is to grow by more than 7%. And to meet that growth target, we need, power to be increased by 7.4%, higher than the growth. But if you look at the statistics provided by multilateral or regional organizations like Asian Development Bank, the deficiency, particularly with regard to the demand and installed capacity, it is 31.7% in Bangladesh, 12% in India, and 43.6% in Nepal. That is the situations in South Asia. And we have also initiated, particularly on the part of Nepal, we have also initiated some initiative, some steps to garner export market in the region. In 2014, we have concluded power trade agreement with India. And that enables government-to-government cooperation in a number of sectors, power sector activities, including what Ambassador Puri has indicated, that's transmission and power generation, grid connectivity, and also trading. And we have also, Nepal and India also agreed to prepare a master plan for the development of cross-border transmission. And at the regional level, we have framework agreement on energy cooperation and regional cooperation in electricity trade. And India has also issued some guidelines on cross-border electricity trade. And we have also initiated BBIN that inspires our power trade. And we have also initiated BIMSTEC, and it is expected to finalize MOU on BIMSTEC trade interconnections, maybe in the next the third BIMSTEC Ministerial Energy Ministry meeting to be held in Kathmandu in February this year. Against this background, first I'll start with our secretary, Dr. Vaikuntha Aryal. I'm not going to follow the name or the order in the program. First, I will start with Dr. Aryal. Well, in this background, how do you assess the potential of investment in particularly hydroelectric energy in Nepal, number one? And number two, I have interacted with many private sector, and their concern, particularly in development of electricity or power in Nepal, is bureaucratic delays. Another problem in land acquisition. Another problem is PPA, PPA, power purchase agreement. And another, we have started, entered into federal structure. Another issue we also entered into federal structure. And the issues of this, maybe at micro hydropower that goes to the local bodies. Against this background, now we have also, India has also issued some guidelines on power, cross-border power trade. What are your views on these issues? One, potential of investment. Second, required reform. Third, federal structure. And what's your views on this guidelines on cross-border electricity trade?
Thank you. It's rocking. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Pandey. Thank you very much for giving me the floor in the beginning. Yeah, probably because my name starts with the alphabetically, also I am the first one to begin with, right? Both Vaikuntha and Aryal answer. Thank you very much. Yeah, but let me begin with the third question that you have posed, because this is probably the right question that you are posing, because I am now the Secretary of the Natural Resources and Fiscal Commission, which deals with all these federal, the managing the natural resources, distribution of natural resources, financial distribution, the fiscal transfers and everything. In this, and then I'll just come from the sequential order and so on. The first one is we are in my commission, although I'm new in the commission, I have just started a month ago. Although this is a new commission, constitutionally provisioned and so on. What we are doing, now we are trying to have a kind of specific and very robust type of mechanisms and norms and standards for all these natural resource distributions among 3 tiers of government. Not only in the return, or not only in the output, or not only in the royalty side, but also in the investment side. What tiers of government, how they invest and how they get the return, and what would be the share for all these 3 tiers of government. That's what we are mandated to buy and a mechanism constitutionally. So we are now gathering all the data, and we will definitely have a very robust type of mechanism for both for the investment as well as for the returns out of it. So I'll just leave it, the question here. The first question that you posed about the prospects of investment in the country. Let me just begin with some of the scenario in here. We definitely have a very high potential in hydroelectricity. But again, the hydroelectricity, most of our hydropower generated so far is from the runoff river type of things, which is not enough for us in the dry season. And thanks to India, that's what they are providing us the power in the dry season, and this load setting has reduced remarkably in the last couple of years and so on. But we also need the storage projects. And what we have analyzed that for the ROR type of things, the private sector can invest hugely in the market because they have the capacity over there and all this thing. Because storage project is a bit more expensive, so public sector should be flowing the investment in that one. You probably know that this we have recently initiated the to implement this Budi Gandaki hydropower plant, which is of 1,200 megawatt capacity, and it's a storage type of project. And the government has decided to generate all the power from its own resources. That means the public resources and so. So the public resources could be directed to the storage project, and private sector investment can be brought for the runoff river type of thing. So we can have a kind of mix over there, mix of investment, very specific one, don't compete, but complement each other. Number one is that one. Number two, we also have to look into the energy mix. As Excellency Ambassador India has said in his opening remarks for this session about the renewable energy. How can we mix the renewable energy into the traditional type of this hydro energy and so. So for the renewable energy, solar, mainly the solar, both public sector and private sector can pour in the investment, but again the investment from the private sector would be more competitive and more viable in this area. That's what we have been seeing. So we are just trying to have a kind of very specific procedures for them to bring the investment into renewable as well as in the runoff river type of things. And the major thing, Dr. Pandey, probably you also know, and as Excellency Ambassador also mentioned in his opening speech, is that the transmission is the major problem. And I know many of the hydropower producers who have not only the license, but they are in the ready-to-go stage, but because of the lack of the transmission lines in several parts of the country, they are just sitting behind. They are just sitting behind, waiting whether the transmission line would be there and when the transmission line would be there, and we can just invest in so. The government has taken some initiatives. The number one, we are upgrading this Ethauda, Talkevar, Duhobi transmission line to 400 kV capacity. And we also have signed one agreement with MCC, Millennium Challenge Corporation of the US, and which allows us to build one very large, the 400 kV transmission line from Lapsifedi in Kathmandu through Ratamate in Nuakot and then to Damoli in Tanahu, and that goes up to Butol and then Gorakhpur. That's what we are trying to do, and that connects our kind of second cross-border line that we will be building. And that MCC supported transmission line will also have an opportunity from, this Ratamate from Tading Nuakot to Hetona. It connects over there. So we can have a kind of a network of the transmission, which also allows us to export, they transmit the power that is generated in the mid-hills of Nepal. And so for the transmission line, definitely the public sector should be investing more than the private sector, because we cannot ask all the private sector to have everything over there, generate the power, and again, they transmit it and everything. The highways should be built by the government, and then the private sector can apply the vehicles over there. That's what the philosophy that we have right now. And so, the second question that you have was about this procedural issue, bureaucratic hassles, project management issues, and all the things. We have also, we've been very, very frustrated for some of the projects. That's not going on. Not only the projects that is being implemented by the private sector, but also from the public sector. Some of the projects, they are not moving because of the local hassles, some local obstruction, land issues, land acquisition issues, and all these things. So we have recently drafted a law. This is still under discussion. That is a kind of project management law, which is very specific to deal with all kinds of these hassles and everything. So what roles each stakeholder should play in here so that the private sector wouldn't suffer, the public sector project wouldn't suffer, and the project management would be smooth and so. But again, that needs a kind of cooling period, all political, bureaucratic, and all, the consensus should be there. And as we have gone through all this transition, long political transition, now it seems that all the political parties are in one agenda, that the economic prosperity, and they are not in mood to obstruct further any this type of economic activities in the country. So we are quite optimistic that it happens in these things. And the final thing that you asked, of course, this power trade guidelines prepared by India is seems a bit rigid to us. I don't know how the Excellency Ambassador, they define it. But again, it's a bit rigid. That might discourage our private investors to invest in larger hydropower projects, which projects, their output need to be exported to India and so. So probably we need to have a little bit tweak over there and to allow our private investors to invest and to encourage them to invest in the hydropower sector in Nepal. And one more thing that I would like to just mention in here, that now, as I had been to Bangladesh a year ago, and every government official and even political leaders that I met over there, everyone was saying that we will be importing 500 megawatt power from Nepal, and everyone was just saying it. Now, we have to have the three countries, Nepal, Bangladesh, and India, have to have a kind of tripartite type of MOU or agreement which enables us to export our power to Bangladesh and Bangladesh to import our power from Nepal. So I just stop here and then I'll come back again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vaikuntha, for your optimistic views on providing policy stability on issues of power sector, and also highlighting a mixed approach for investment in power sector. Mixed, both public and private sector mixed on the energy of sources. That could be solar and hydro. Mixed, not only investment in generation of power, but also transmission line. Mixed, both large and small. And final mix, that's for domestic market as well as for exports. Well, so now I'll turn to Ambassador Puri. And if you allow me, I will borrow your oath. That's game changer. And for Nepal, it could be a game changer. But because of the geographical location of India, in particular, I'm talking in terms of the regional context. Geographical location of India, which borders most of the South Asian countries, its size, its level of development, its consumption of energy, and its potential demand. I'm of the views that unless and until India take leadership on and developing regional power market, energy or hydroelectricity cannot be a game changer for the rest of the South Asian countries. So in this context, how can India provide leadership in the development of regional energy market? And the second question, and that's the related issues, and what kind of supportive measures in terms of policy, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of institution, India expects from other South Asian countries to provide that leadership. Ambassador Puri.
Dr. Pandey, thank you very much, and thank you very much to the EDC for giving me a third opportunity to speak to the crowd today. Thank you very much. Baikunt, congratulations on your appointment, so very richly deserved. Dr. Pandey, thank you for drawing me into the vortex. I said I was very honored to speak, and there was a good reason why the EDC chose me to speak. My country sits at a point where, at least in South Asia, we border most of the countries. We're very happy at this regional connectivity possibilities. We've been working very hard on that. As far as India and Nepal is concerned, we have a cross-border transmission agreement. Things are working under that, and they've been working quite well for quite some time about it. I might also tell you that we have a cross-border transmission sets of rules, regulations vis-a-vis Bangladesh, and power is flowing. And so do we have with Bhutan. So the institutional arrangements actually exist. And believe me, the concept and the conversations of somehow or the other putting these together in a larger network are something that we realize. And we've started working towards it, which is why the draft guidelines, etc. But my fundamental point is, believe me, sir, let's do the investment, let's get the power flowing. There is no way that anyone is going to stop power, which is economical, which is affordable, from flowing across if there's a demand and there is a supply to it. Conversations about all these particular things are very useful and excellent to have in our multilateral fora. And I come from a bureaucratic background. Let me tell you, I have the highest regards for my own profession, because that's what I do. But I must also say, as someone told me at another forum on power, that my God, had we left it to the private sector, they would have got it right. We ask too many questions. And we want too many solutions without being willing to do anything on the ground. Look, Pancheshwar, the Mahakali Treaty was signed in 1996. We are pontificating. I don't know what we are discussing. In the meantime, I don't know how many cusecs of water has flown down the Mahakali or the Sharda, as we call it. On Kosi, look exactly, no one is saying that the problems are not there. No one is saying the issues should not be resolved. But how are we making truly serious efforts at resolving them? Or are we only asking the questions? And each of us is looking at the other. You find the solution. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Believe me, all these great naysayers, it is actually naysayers who raise all these questions and say that we are actually speaking on behalf of extracting the extra mile out for myself. Sir, it's very easy to ask all these questions. But if you are a businessman, you will understand that there is a need for a certain amount of practicality and getting this going. In India, what have we done? 40,000 megawatts of hydropower being available in Nepal is now some 3-4 decades old estimate. And in India, so many of us predicated ourselves that this will become available and would be a panacea for doing action in India in terms of alleviating our poverty, energy poverty. But it didn't happen. So what have we done? We've turned around and taken action ourselves. And we've taken internal domestic action, as was mentioned by Sujit some time back, to do 100,000 megawatts of renewable energy by ourselves in India domestically. Why are we doing this? Because look, everyone else in their own sovereign rights has to start taking the decisions, after which we can come together. But if, for whatever reason, you have issues on those counts, others won't wait, they have no choice, and we need to go ahead. So let me assure you that India remains most interested in working with its neighbors. And Mr. Aryal has mentioned to you BBIN, we also have BIMSTEC. We have a lot of these possibilities. What I really believe is we need to sit down on them and we need to work in a concrete manner to get it going, because technology is not waiting for us. That's the reason. We must understand that these 40,000 megawatts of potential is potential. Let us not just leave it as potential. You very rightly highlighted that the first hydropower project in South Asia came on steam in Nepal about 100 years back, and you've reached 800 megawatts till now. I think we all need to look at this. You need to focus on this. Whatever we can do as partnership, we certainly will. And I am very glad that now there's a heightened awareness that action really is needed in the area of hydropower. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your commitment to the partnership with South Asian countries in developing South Asian energy market. Now I turn to Her Excellency's ambassador from Bangladesh to Nepal. Well, Bangladesh, if we look at the growth rate of Bangladesh, it's quite impressive. For around 15 to 20 years, the average growth rate is more than 6%. In last 15 years. And you have this growing middle class, and with industrialization, it has, in tandem with the economic growth, industrialization is also increasing, middle class is also increasing, and you have also Vision 2021, to provide affordable and reliable energy to all, and you have also committed to sustainable development goals, to achieve sustainable development goals by 2030. But if you look at the existing installed capacity of energy in Bangladesh, it's around 13,000. Whereas the projection of government of Bangladesh, that's the electricity demand, that is about 34,000 by 2030. In order to address that demand, you have a strategic plan to diversify source of energy, as well as to engage in cross-border trade, right? Against this background, how do you see the prospect of investing Bangladeshi investor in Nepal, and also importing energy from Nepal to Bangladesh? Please, Your Excellency.
Okay, thank you. Let me thank EDC and all of you for giving me this opportunity to speak. You're right, Bangladesh economy has been growing at more than 6% for the last 15 years, and for the last 2 years, it has been growing at more than 7%. In fact, this year we are expecting it to grow at 7.8%. But these are all figures. And this demand for power, this 34,000 megawatt by 2030, these are all figures which these are, I think, even suppressed figures. If you look at the way Bangladesh is changing, the transformation that's going on in Bangladesh. Now, we have been talking for a long time that we increasingly need electricity. The government is committed to provide 100% electricity by 2021. For that, we are going into different kinds of mixtures. We ourselves have some gas, natural gas, which we are using already. We are investing in a big way in the LNG projects. We are investing in coal-based power plants with joint venture with Indian government sector as well as the private sector, with not only India but also China, Malaysia. We are also going for 2 nuclear power plants with Russian support and Indian support, which are expected to produce more than 2,500 megawatts. And our energy projection plan conceives that we will be purchasing, sourcing power from the region to the tune of about 5,000 megawatts. That's in our 5-year plan, 7 5-year plan. Of that, a large portion will come from India, we hope. We are already importing about 650 megawatt from India, both from the western side, through the West Bengal, the Behramara-Behrampur line, also from Tripura in the east. We hope that this will be expanded as a lot of projects are expected to go in the northeast, in Arunachal. Projects are coming online. We hope to source from there also. With Bhutan, if we are talking of investment, in Bhutan, Bangladesh government has already committed $1 billion to invest in the Bhutanese power sector, and Bangladesh, India, Bhutan are working on a trilateral agreement, as well as working on establishing a joint venture company, a trilateral joint venture company, which will look at how, which will allow the power to come from Bhutan to Bangladesh. And maybe something similar, we are already ready to invest $1 billion. We have been talking about it for a long time. We are ready to invest from the government sector up to $1 billion in the Nepalese power sector also. And we are also expecting that somehow down the line, we will be able to source at least 2,000 megawatts from Nepal. And we can follow the Bhutanese model, or we can follow some other model. We are talking through the BBIN. There's a joint working group of the bureaucrats who are looking at power projects that we can, that we may invest in. And you were talking, you asked the ambassador of India about how India can play a role. Let me tell you that between Bangladesh and India, there is a complete understanding at the political level that India will facilitate the transmission of power through India from Nepal and Bhutan to Bangladesh. So that is a very welcome development. And this was reiterated by the External Affairs Minister when she visited Bangladesh. And I think the bureaucrats are working for that. We really need energy, and we are, we feel that not only 7.8%, but we can achieve much more, higher economic growth. It's only the energy, the lack of energy, which is dragging us down. So we are very keen to work with Nepal in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now I turn to Professor Sutipanand Siratiwat, Executive Director, ASEAN Center, ASEAN Study Center, and he's Chairman of Chula Global Network. Well, Professor, regional energy cooperations, and particularly in Southeast Asia, is very active. And a number of initiatives or measures has taken, particularly on infrastructure, and at the regional level, on particularly infrastructure development, financial mechanism, regulatory framework, research development, information sharing, which could enable to have cross-border trade. Well, we don't have Mekong River in South Asia. But I mean, we can learn something, I mean, a lot of things from the experience of East Asian energy cooperation. Here my question is how South Asian countries learn from the experience of ASEAN countries in the development of regional energy market. Professor, now you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Dr. Bosch, and also very pleased to be in this Energy Summit. I would like to thank especially the organizer, Mr. Sujit of the ADC, and also the hospitality from his staff. So, following your very interesting of the questions, and I'm not sure whether I could do the justice to you all, because I must say that I also have, the session I go to speak on the case of ASEAN, and the past week I said, well, with distinguished panelists, I have to be here, and I'm not either an expert of energy, so I hope the floor could make the justice of what we'll be speaking about, following about the regional cooperation, how advanced we are, the experience that we could learn each other. I think there's always a lesson to be learned from each other. I agree. Listening from this morning opening speech, very interesting, of course, from the, that's Nepal, 40,000 megawatt in 10 years, and also now listen to my colleague nearby and how you're going to implement it. And ambassador from India, it's also ambassador from Bangladesh, describe very well the situation of the kind of connection, and I think is also, I think he's right to say about the kind of we think about of course, the goal, and you said the goal, you talk, but then the solution you're talking about, the ambassador from India. And this is a very important how to implement it at timely. So I think this is a very timely moment that we should be able to see this major transformation for Nepal. Realistic, as Mr. Sujit mentioned, I'm sure that you agree as well, which we move Nepal to middle income. That's that's something that's I'm sure that Nepal will need absolutely a robust policy, and that's why how we also what we're doing in Southeast Asia. Of course, we vary, scope vary, from country, because power authority normally in the past they're single authority. You're right, they control, the thing, and then they try to liberalize. The most liberal would be, for instance, the Singapore and Philippines, for example. And the one that still centrally, what you call administer, would be the country that start to come into the picture, like Laos or Cambodia and Myanmar, for example. Thailand, Malaysia, of course, we are more advanced. And that's something that's a kind of a variety of, that's a model. I think is as well for South Asia that I think about Bangladesh different, because Bangladesh also, that's a very important player as well, as much as India, and that's how Nepal connected. The whole Southeast Asia, as we know, average growth close to 5%. We're talking India, 7 over, Bangladesh also very strong, Nepal coming, and electricity consumption also moving to 6%. That's the average, taking 5 years back. This is a record, and in the future. And the overall consumption, as I will show, that would be 200 gigawatts. That means 200,000, that's Indonesia, the biggest, the consumption and things like that. Of course, I think due to the that's why ASEAN said that there are some countries that more surplus, some countries much more deficit. My country is a quite huge deficit, how to do it, and quite an energy mix. We're talking about the energy mix also. 20% that we target about renewable energy in 2025. So it will be very soon. Without forgetting, of course, we still need, fuel, gas. That's the main thing, and also coal is expanding quick. So all these need kind of what you say, that kind of regional framework. And then we start in 97 also, now more than 20 years, right? And then come to the first master plan. We actually have the second master plan of how we cooperate. Of course, we are right to say that for national planners, they always put the optic of how to secure the demand. So with the supply. So security always comes first, and then they could think about it. Of course, accessibility, electrification rate of the whole Southeast Asia is still close to 80%, but better, of course, than Nepal. And also the affordability, we're talking about price. So price is also coming down, of course. We're talking about it. Non-renewable, that's depend on the current price, right? But the renewable, more technological advanced, so we'll be able to keep on the lowering price. We're talking about in my country, for example, in addition to hydro that we produce, a big project, the ambassador is right. Big project is something that we've done for some time, implemented. And then now also liberalized to some other project to medium size, smaller size, private sector, even smaller for solar, for biomass. So a lot of things happening on the ground. I just talked to several players, that's if you talk in Thailand, they're going beyond Thai borders, even for small projects, because we not have a sufficient to Laos, to Myanmar, the Cambodia, and they buy several thousand megawatt now. That's I don't have the figure now, but I will show you later on. Importantly, I think is so ASEAN done for long. Master plan we take care of two things. One is what do you call the gas pipeline among us. Like Thailand buying from Myanmar, or Thailand could buy also from Cambodia, or Malaysia could sell to Singapore, this kind of thing. So gas pipeline is done for some time. And the other project is a power grid, the ASEAN power grid. This is more advanced. This is an area perhaps we could talk more, because they are dealing with interconnection, transmission lines. And this is an area where I think is bilaterally, I could show on the map, but that's quite advanced in terms of bilateral. And what we're thinking now in terms of going beyond the bilateral to more multilateral. I mean, so not only the two countries, but to 3, 4, 5 countries. And that's one of the first thing that we do if we're talking about the regional cooperation, or perhaps a market integration. Electricity trading will be done, for example, for surplus country. Laos has a lot of hydro power, big project, and sailing to Thailand and down to Malaysia. So that would be the very first one. I could talk now about the 100 megawatt that will be trading very soon as we establish the right transmission line, particularly from the south of Thailand to Malaysia. And Singapore also interest, not only, to see that kind of material, that another, starting with another 100 megawatt. And so on and so forth. I think this is a starting point of what we are, multilateral trading of electricity through moving beyond the bilateral level. And that's a kind of, ongoing, what do you call the regional cooperation. Of course, for doing this, we need to see how, that's because of the authorities, of course, the way each country regulatory frameworks and laws and all that, it's different. So we're not going to start to harmonize and all that from the beginning. But we start to see that how the objective is there, that's making more multilateral trading and start to little by little to harmonize the national laws and the framework that we have to do. So I think is that at least very important first. I think that is about the first. It's about the pricing must be right. This is very imperative, and you have to make this very transparent when you make this kind of cross-border, in agreement, because the private sector would like to know, and they because they would like to make sure about the risk, about opportunities. Ambassador mentioned about the bankable project, and the bottom line, the commercial thing. So these have to make sure about the electricity pricing and transparency imperative. And then also, I don't know how much I have time. I think it's also have to do about the different, along the line, you think about the kind of the hub. I think it's Nepal would like to be the hub, that's a the hub. So the idea of trading hub, this is a model we have to also working in the future because of this is, there will be hub, the sub, hub and things like that we need to be clear. And also, of course, when it comes to different players, I think that a lot of questions along the line that perhaps I would rather finish this round because of the stakeholders. You need to ask a lot of questions, that's, but we're not going to write, but along the way, once you establish, that's kind of agreement, this kind of cross-border trading, and with the right pricing and accountability and sustainability, accessibility and all that. So you need to move it further. Of course, it's how that would, at the same time, the question about the benefits and also that's how to, involvement of different stakeholders, inclusiveness, that's all the accessibility question. I think better end up this round. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Chirativat. Well, I think, we have already exhausted, our allocated time, but it would be unfair, if I don't give time to the floor. Maybe we can take, few questions, maybe two, three. Okay, just two. One here and one there. Just two. Now it's just two. Here, please. Mike. Mike. Please be short.
Yeah, my name is Amrit Nakarmi, so I'm a professor at Institute of Engineering. So, thank you very much for the panelists. I have a question. I just heard Professor Sutipan said that pricing is very important for cross-border power trading. So I just want to know that, India is developing renewable energy in such a big way, around 1,000 megawatt from solar power. And we see in the paper that, I mean, the reverse auctioning of solar power plants, the levelized cost of electricity is so down, ₹2.40 per kilowatt hour, Indian rupees. So how you think, is it possible for Nepal to export hydropower in such a competitive situation to India? Because a lot of bureaucrats are talking about exporting hydropower to our neighboring countries. In this situation, how hydropower can be competitive for transboundary trading? That's why, I mean, could India will be able to buy from hydropower developers in India, in Nepal? Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Any other question?
Okay.
All right, one last, I guess.
Good afternoon. I am Taranath Sapkota. I am civil engineer and managing director of High Himalaya Hydro Construction Private Limited. My question is, we are just talking about hydropower development, 40,000 megawatt, and we have been hearing this statement for last few years and decades, not only years, decades. And we have built only less than 1,000 megawatt hydropower in 107 years. This is the reality. We don't have project management expert, we don't have skilled engineers, and we don't have even technology. Now, we are talking about to build hydropower and sell electricity to our neighboring countries in India, Bangladesh, and now just we are talking about the price of energy is decreasing. Particularly the solar is very cheaper than hydropower. My question is about to Vaikuntha sir, Vaikuntha Aryal sir, maybe he can answer. We don't have even transmission line. We are not talking about how much money we have to invest to build the transmission line to evacuate 40,000 megawatt hydropower. And there is no grid connection to the Bangladesh. How can we sell electricity to Bangladesh? And how can our electricity be cheaper than solar energy? And how can we develop our expertise? How can we develop technical expertise like engineers and other technical manpower and project management expert? That is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, okay, let's start with Dr.
Sir, if I'm allowed to intervene, we've had it from the floor. We would appreciate if you could be as brief as possible because we're running out of time.
Thank you. Let me just go to Sapkotaji's question. Number one is, you are very right that we are always talking about the potential. We are always very much optimistic that this much potential that we have, and we also have a kind of projection that 10,000 in 10 years, 15,000 in 25,000 in 15 years, something like that. But I should say that we are not planning in a very proper way. We are always talking about the financial resources, but we are somehow ignoring the human resources, technicalities, and all those things. That I agree completely with you. That's why these days, whenever we talk about all these project issues and all overall power projects and everything, we are taking it as a whole in a holistic manner so that everything comes on board. Not only the finance is one of the crunch, right? But again, the human resource who implements everything is another very, very big problem in here. So we are taking note of that one. About the pricing and how competitive it would be when India has that lower price with their own energy generation and all these things, probably the pricing should be adjusted because it should be competitive anyway. If you want to trade something, that it should be competitive. So we can discuss on that one. One last question that you asked about we don't have any grid connection to Bangladesh. That's why in the beginning I mentioned that we should, India, Bangladesh, and Nepal, or if other countries are also needed, but particularly to export the energy to Bangladesh, we have to sit together to have a kind of tripartite type of understanding how Indian grid can be utilized to export our power to Bangladesh. That's what I mentioned in the beginning also. I stop here.
Thank you. So, Dr. Bagunta, Ambassador Puri.
Pardon. Sir, thank you very much for your question. You are allowing me for the 4th time to say what I have said on 3 other occasions. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. You know, it's very easy and very good to speak about potential. Let's realize it. 4 decades. When was this Canadian survey carried out of Nepal's hydroelectric potential? I think I wasn't even in school possibly. Sir, please take steps which are in tune with the time. We can keep having these discussions. As far as India is concerned, let's understand that no matter how good your potential, we ourselves have figured out that we have to get going on our own, you know. And so, much of this has happened. I still believe that for a variety of reasons, the technology on solar power being what it is, at least as of now, it might change with that huge battery which has been constructed in Australia. It might change. But as of now, as things are, an alternate source of renewable power, hydropower in particular, especially now that the World Bank, etc., have gone back to accepting that it is a renewable form of energy, is going to remain extremely important because of the amount it can feed into the system, with the power with which it can feed into the system, grid, across any kind of weather condition. And please remember another thing. After a certain gestation period, it almost becomes free. Hence, on a long-term basis. But as I told you, the real game changers are the large projects. And I'm afraid we really have to agree that we've got to get it done. Because all questions amount to naysaying. And if that's not what you want, then just say thank you for the question and get going. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ambassador Puri. Now we are towards the end of the session, and I don't want to summarize. There is discussion over here, but for me, my takeaway is Nepal should respect the essence of time. If we don't, the potential of hydro generation could be evaporated because of new technology and also because of climate change and melting Himalayas. And that's the takeaway for me. And I'd like to thank Ambassador Puri, our ambassador from Bangladesh, Dr. Aryal, and Professor for your contribution. And finally, Ambassador Puri, I'm requesting you to conclude this session as a chair. It's your 6th time to speak.
Dr. Pandey, thank you very, very much. I'm very delighted to be chairing a session which you've moderated. Madam, do we conclude the session right now? There are 4 more, but I need to leave if you don't mind. So, friends, I want to thank you very much for giving me so much time. I think there must be something in the electricity between India and Nepal that gives you this willingness to listen to me. I want to conclude my bit, and after this, Arun 3, which is really our electric power in Nepal, will come on board, and then others will make presentation. But I want to thank EDC for this great opportunity, and I want to thank all the panelists, Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Bangladesh, Vaikunth Aryal, and Professor from Chulalongkorn University. I think we've all highlighted it, and Dr. Pandey has said it very well. Technology doesn't wait. It keeps evolving. Economics is one of taking advantage of the situation that exists. Fortunately, and despite climate change and receding glaciers, there is still ample opportunity to be able to exploit hydropower. Its benefits, without any doubt, will be directly to Nepal. And let me tell you, I'm the greatest respecter for climate change, for sustainability. But growth needs to mean harnessing resources. And water is certainly Nepal's most precious most wonderful resource which needs to be harnessed for its people and a better quality of life. So thank you very much to all of you. Dr. Pandey, to you, to all those who participated in this session, to EDC, Madam, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. It's certainly an honor. I'd like to hold you back for a while, if you may, if you can spare a moment with us, a little longer, because indeed this calls for us to be extending our side of gratitude to our distinguished panelists who have, to this very, very important convergence, shared their insights, perspectives, facts and knowledge, and given us a picture of where Nepal stands, where it is coming from and where it is looking into. And also, we also took, could have a glimpse of what's happening in the region and also in the near proximity, the ASEAN sector. Thank you one more time. The one important thing we get to note is the word inaction, which was coming from the panel. Certainly, inaction would cost or could cost Nepal dear, and is one of the major obstacles towards the aspired goal that we all are looking towards. And thus this forum is all about calling to do away with that inaction, which has been the greatest hindrance to the development aspirations in Nepal. And yes, it's all about calling for action from your side, from our side. We have done our bit, and certainly we are looking forward. And said that, ladies and gentlemen, to extend our gratitude, I have the pleasure of inviting up on stage from the Energy Development Council, Executive Member Mr. Sushil Pokhrel, as we present our gratitude to our distinguished panelists. And as His Excellency the Ambassador of India just stated, that Nepal's true treasure lies in its water resources. Certainly the souvenir, the memento that we are handing over or giving away to our distinguished panelists is one such treasure that today we take an opportunity to hand over to our long-running friends and the closest development partners and friends. And it is, if you could show it to the audience, sir, it's an inventory of the river systems in Nepal compiled by the Energy Development Council, which as a gesture of appreciation and gratitude, we are giving away to our distinguished panelists. First, the moderator, of course, Dr. Pushraj Pandey. And also the pin of the summit. And with much humility and gratitude to His Excellency, Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri, the chairperson of this panel, the Ambassador of India to Nepal. To Her Excellency, Ms. Mashfi Binte Shams, the Ambassador of Bangladesh to Nepal. With much gratitude and appreciation to Professor Suthifand Shirathivat, the Executive Director, ASEAN Studies Center, and Chairman of Chula Global Network. And last but not the least, with immense gratitude to Mr. Boykunta Aryal, the Acting Secretary, National Natural Resources and Fiscal Commission, Government of Nepal. Can we hear one more time for the distinguished panel, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And with this, I request you all to descend down the stage, as we are now looking forward to the rest of the engagements herein. Thank you one more time. Can we have our colleague from the Bangladesh Embassy up on stage, please? All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we now are all set to move forward with the next important part of the first session. And now we will have three very important paper presentations. We have three important paper presentations lined up for you now. The first is on Arun 3 hydro power project, as you know, which is located in the Songkhla Sabha district of Nepal. And it is a 900 megawatt project, very much export-oriented peaking runoff river project with about 3.65 hours minimum peaking capacity. Now, the first presentation is on the Arun 3 hydropower project. To make this presentation, I have the pleasure of inviting up on stage the CEO of the Satluj Jai Vidyut Nigam Limited, Arun 3 Power Development Company Private Limited, which is the developer of this project. Ladies and gentlemen, Sri S.K. Sharma is the paper presentation, our esteemed paper presentation, who is the CEO of SJVN Arun 3 Power Development Company, who Mr. Sharma holds 35 years in various hydroelectric and thermal power plants projects in India and abroad, and has played a very vital role in the construction and successful commissioning of India's largest hydropower project, that is 1500 megawatts Nathpa Jhakri Power Project. Well, that's just a glimpse into his profile. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, and please join me in welcoming our esteemed paper presenter, our expert, Mr. S.K. Sharma, who will be giving you a nutshell view on the Arun 3 hydropower project.
Excuse me, sir. This for you. Do you want to speak here, or do you need something so you can walk around? This is good? All right, okay, perfect. Okay. So you can easily just try and... Good afternoon, distinguished delegates. I am from SJVN Limited. SJVN is the biggest foreign investor in Nepal in hydropower sector today. SJVN is doing Arun 3 hydroelectric project, which is 900 megawatt. And as His Excellency in the morning told you all that it's a great pleasure that the work on this project has now started. Briefly, I'll be taking you through this project, how this project has come up, and now what is the status of this project as on date. So it's basically a showcase on the Arun 3 project. If we see, this has already been told, that the total theoretical generation is 83,000 megawatt in Nepal, and from 66 feasible sites, 44,000 megawatt is economically feasible. And with this, 190 to 195 billion units can be produced in Nepal. But as on date, it's only 800 megawatt which is being produced in Nepal. The demand of the Nepal as on date is roughly around 1,000 megawatt, against which only 800 megawatt is being produced. In Nepal, if we see the per capita requirement of energy consumption, not requirement, the energy consumption, it's one of the lowest in the world. So the demand of electricity is definitely there, and it's increasing now day by day, and the annual increase is roughly 7 to 9%. So by 2027, the demand will be roughly around 3,600 megawatt. To fulfill this demand, the hydro is the main sector which can fulfill it. If we see the Arun 3 project, it was conceived in 1985. Initially, it was conceived by Japan International Cooperation Agency when the master plan of Nepal was prepared. And then finally, the feasibility report was prepared by this again, JICA. In 1995, the project was abandoned because of the withdrawal of the support by the World Bank. Initially, it was being executed through the World Bank support. In 2006, then the expression of interest was invited by Ministry of Energy, then it was known as Ministry of Water Resources, for the execution of this project. It was expected that the project will be built, owned, and operate, and finally will be transferred back to the Nepal government after operating it for 25 years. In 2007, then SJVN applied for it, and in 2008, the SJVN got this project. Negotiations were done. Initially, when the investigation was done, the project was of 402 megawatt, but when the DPR was prepared in detail by SJVN, the project was upgraded, and the revised capacity of the project is now 900 megawatt. If we see the location of the project, it's in Sankhwasabha district, which is around 300 kilometers away from Jogbani, or you can say from the nearest railway station. And the nearest airport is the Tumlingtar. It's around 70 kilometers from Tumlingtar. If we see the project, we have a dam of 70-meter height. It's a concrete gravity dam. The water of the river Arun will be diverted through this dam to a headrace tunnel of 11.779 kilometer long, 9.5 meter dia circular tunnel. The water will be taken from here to the powerhouse through 2-number pressure shafts. And then the powerhouse will be a big underground cavity. The cavity size, if we see, will be roughly around 180 meter long, 22.5 meter wide, and roughly around 53 meter deep. This whole cavity will be excavated in the hill. And then another cavity for the transformer hall will be excavated, which is also of the almost same size, that is 146 meter long. The water will be back in the river through tailrace tunnel of only a 401 meter, a small tailrace tunnel of 192 meters long. It will produce a power of 4,000 million units in a year. It has a design head of 286 meter long, high, and it will use 344 cumecs of water to generate this 900 megawatt. This is briefly about the project. I am not going into so much of technical details. Now, in the morning also, a point was coming around about the transmission line, how the power, whatsoever the power will be making, how that will be evacuated. To evacuate the power from this project, we are making a transmission line up to the India border, which will be around 217 kilometers long. It will be a double circuit line having 501 number of towers So for which, if we see, it will be feeding to Dhalkebar substation. So up to Dhalkebar, it will be 168 kilometer long, and then from Dhalkebar to the Bhatnaha, that the point where the border is, will be around 40.6 kilometer long. So it will also be constructed along with the project in 4 years period. Oof. Something has happened. So then, now why SJVN? Now, briefly, I'll tell you about the SJVN. SJVN is a central public sector undertaking of Government of India. It has a proven record because it has executed the biggest hydroelectric project of India, which is Nathpa Jhakri hydroelectric project, which is 1,500 megawatt. 6 units under one roof. So this is the biggest hydroelectric project, and very successfully operating this project as on date. In addition to this, there is another project, that is Rampur hydroelectric project, 412 megawatt, has been executed and now being operated. So SJVN has a record of planning and construction of more than, is under planning around 10 hydroelectric projects. It has a technical in-house expertise in developing and designing the hydropower. Now SJVN has diversified in thermal, wind, and solar projects also. It was constituted in 1968. It has a share of Government of India, Government of Himachal, and then the public also. Then it has a capacity of 1,964 megawatt. It has a subsidiaries. One of the subsidiaries is the SJVN Arun 3 Power Development Company, which is executing now our project. In addition to this, it has one subsidiary of SJVN Thermal Power Project. Then Khulangchu Hydro Energy Limited is a joint venture in Bhutan. So I have already told you, they have commissioned successfully 1,500 megawatt. It's a Mini Ratna Schedule A company. It has commissioned Rampur project also. It has commissioned 47.6 megawatt of Kirvire wind power project also. It has commissioned 86 kilometers of 400 kV double circuit line of CPTC. Now SAPDC, now it has a separate company. It was incorporated on 25th of April 2013 to execute this project. So PDA was signed on 25th of November 2014 in the presence of Honorable Prime Minister of Nepal and Honorable Prime Minister of India. So this was signed, and after signing, the project now has moved ahead. So if we see by this investment what benefit Nepal will have, the Nepal will have 21.9% of free power. In addition to this, then the capacity royalty of 400 NPR per kilowatt hour per year for the first 15 years, and then 18 NPR per kilowatt hour per kilowatt per year for the next 10 years. Then in addition to this, energy royalty of 7.5% for first 15 years and 12% for next 10 years. Non-refundable amount fees which has already been paid. Local shares, the people of the project affected families and the local people will be given a shares of roughly 100 crores and INR in 2 tranches after the commissioning. Survey license has been issued, payment to the NEA for the work till that time whatsoever was done by them was made. Local area people, the project affected people will be given 30 kilowatt hours per month, free of cost. With this project, SAPDC will employ the local to the extent possible. Various development activities to uplift the socio-economic level of the people in the project area will be initiated. Training to the project affected families will be given to increase the employability of the people. Because as on date, whatsoever the trades required in the project, they will be given trainings in line with that. In addition to this, there will be local development also. If we see as on date, we have already working on Chainkutti Road, Chainkutti Deering Road, which is 28.69 kilometer long. Indirectly, that will be benefiting to the local people also. Faksinda to Sunthale Road, that is 16.5 kilometer. 5 number bridges we are erecting. So indirectly, these will also be benefiting the people of that area. To save the environment, we have kept a provision of NR 160 crores. R&R plan, including the land acquisition, we have kept a provision of 137 crores, which will be spent in that area. If we see in the monetary benefit, clear terms, so we can see the figures have been taken from the IBN website. With the free power of 21.9%, Nepal will get around 15,469 crores during the operation of the project. From energy royalty, Nepal will get around 10,685 crores. And from the lifetime income tax, Nepal will get around 7,710 crores. And if we see totally, it will be 33,866 crores, which Nepal will get from this project with the time after the operation of this project. In addition to this, the project will also generate employment to the local and boost the local industries and foster entrepreneurship. Now, if we see that all these roads, which 50 kilometers roads we are making, all are being executed by the local contractors only. Industrial benefit, the Nepal suppliers will be given an opportunity to compete and growth to the local shops, traders, catering, hotel services. It has already started rather. Rural electrification. For rural electrification, we'll be making 33 kV line along the project, which will be in the initial stage will be used for the construction power, and laterly it will be handed over to NEA for giving the distribution of the free power, and that will be used in the local area network also. Development of infrastructure and financial support will also be provided. Construction of roads, bridges, healthcare, community centers, etc. If we see what is the status of this project as on date, the DPR is already approved, manpower is mobilized, EIA approved, SEIA is approved, Cabinet Committee of Economic Affairs from Government of India, that investment has been approved, private land stand acquired, the forest land 123 hectare that stands is in the possession of SAPDC, and then a tri-party agreement for 96 hectare has been done. Balance 26 hectare is likely to be done very shortly. Then agreement with DOR. We are thankful to the DOR. They have taken the responsibility of making the roads at the project cost in our area, and more than 50% of job has already been done. Contract for infrastructures like office, residentials at Tumlingtar and other places, they are in progress. One package, that is the project, the civil works have been divided into two packages. One is the dam and a part of HRT, and the other is a powerhouse and the part of HRT, powerhouse, shaft, etc. So one package has already been awarded to Jayaprakash Associates. They have mobilized and now likely to start the work very soon. They have already got the custom clearance for induction of the equipment from India. They have already got the PAN, VAT, EXIM code, etc., everything. Now the labor camps construction is in progress. They have all obtained the licenses for the explosives. The other package is C2 package. So work is likely to be, if we see, NIT was issued last year, and technical bids are opened, evaluated. Now the financial bid is likely to be opened by end of this month, and by end of the next month, the work will be awarded. Hydromechanical package is also next month. By end of next month, the work will be awarded. Electromechanical package, NIT is already issued, and the likely the last date for the online bid submission is 8th of February. On 9th, the bid will be opened. Financial closure for the generation portion, it's in the final stage. Already by 30th of March, we are expecting that the financial closure will be complete. Approximately 10% of the required, we are requiring around 4,000 crores of debt, out of which 406 crores, now we are expecting it from Nepal. We are likely to issue an expression of interest in a week's time. Now, if we see the transmission line also, because I told you that we will be constructing the transmission line also up to the India border as per the PDA, Project Development Agreement. The DPR is also now stand approved. IEE is approved. Financial closure for transmission line portion has been done. It is complete. And a part of it by PNB India, and 228 crores have been agreed by Everest Bank of Nepal for this transmission line component. The process of signing of agreement with them is in the final stage and likely to be done very soon. Resettlement action plan for the transmission line is in the final stage. And here, I would like to place on record that this project has come to this stage. It's only because of the coordination, cooperation, and support by the IBN in particular, and the other departments, Forest Department, Wildlife Department, the Finance, Environment, Energy, Water Resources, NEA, Home, Local Administration, and the Custom Department. Without their support, it was not possible that we could have reached up to this point where we are as on date. A lot of support is being given, but still a few points which we like to bring to the notice, that the progress can further increase if these points are taken care of by the respective ministries, that the Koshi Highway road conditions, we request that may be improved, because that is the lifeline of the project. Definitely our project speed will improve if these road conditions will improve. Then the complications in the payment of, whenever we have to make the payment in India, there are some procedures. We need that those procedures be simplified. And now when we award the work to a contractor, he has to mobilize in a very small specified period. So he needs to get some clearances from Government of Nepal. So we request that if those that clearances can be given in a very small period, so that the work can be, they can get to the work as early as possible. So with this, I'm thankful to all of you for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for this very, very valuable sharing. And I'm sure this has been a very gaining part of the event for all of us here. Said that, ladies and gentlemen, we now move ahead with another presentation, another key presentation, which again is also based on experience sharing. And before we do that, I have a small announcement to make. I'm sure we're running late on schedule, but we request you all to kindly bear with us. We have a couple of presentations to go before we disperse for lunch, and yes, I'm sure our stomachs are growling, but please be assured your lunch coupons are waiting outside at our help desk. That's just right beside the entrance. Just don't hurry right now. What I wanted to ask is for you all to collect your lunch coupons before we disperse for lunch at the Rose Garden, and that would be after three more presentation, which I'm sure will be very brief but very important and gaining for all of us. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we now move ahead with the next presentation. If you all know that under the government's initiative to explore domestic resources, the Employees Provident Fund in Nepal, with its immense pool of financial resources, has ventured financing hydropower sector in Nepal. And this session is an experience sharing on investment of that entity in the hydropower sector. And the esteemed speaker is Mr. Deepak Roniar, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Employees Provident Fund, who holds more than 20 years of experience in the finance and investment sector. He's responsible for managing 250 billion rupees, that is approximately about 2.5 billion US dollars. I come to this again, 250 billion rupees, and he holds an MBA from the ACE Institute of Management. So I hand over the floor now to Mr. Deepak Roniar.
Very good afternoon. Let me begin by extending warm welcome to all the foreign delegates of this conference. Let me also begin with a disclaimer. The power sector of Nepal brings in many perspectives. To some, it's a story of misplaced opportunities, lost opportunities, and despair. For others, it's all about hope and moving ahead, opportunities, untapped opportunities. My presentation is more in line with the second perspective, that we still have hope and we still have untapped opportunities that can be harnessed. So I'll be speaking on those fronts. Now, let me begin with EPF. We are primarily a retirement fund, approved retirement fund of the government of Nepal. We are a 56-year-old business entity, primarily engaged in managing provident fund and social benefits. Our fund size over these years has evolved to 256 billion rupees, which is close to 2.5 billion US dollars. And we are growing at a rate of 17% per annum. 2 years back, we had an amendment in our act which opened a number of avenues for us in terms of investments and making an outreach to our members. And we see ourselves in the next 5 years as an enterprise of 700 billion rupees. Most of our funds are of long-term nature, and thus our engagement is in initiatives of long-term nature. We do have a significant portfolio in the power sector. It's close to 1,465 megawatts that we are involved, both in debt as well as equity investments. on considering the historical perspective, we were the first, one of the first institutions which started financing outside the realm of NEA. I'm talking about the 20 megawatt Chilime project. And our current exposure is in 776 megawatt project. These are under construction, I'll just let you know. And our debt involvement in these projects is close to 27 billion rupees. We also have substantial equity investments in these three institutions. Betan Karnali Sanchaykarta Hydropower Company, Hydroelectricity Investment Development Company Limited, and Electricity Generation Company Limited. This is what happens if you don't have your own laptop. Okay, talking about the projects, we have completed these three projects that we provided debt. It is already completed and they are operational, close to 29 megawatt, where we had an exposure of 1 billion rupees, slightly more than that. Our current exposure is in 6 different projects. These are under construction, close to 776 megawatt, and our level of committed debt is 27 billion rupees, which is close to 270 million US dollars. Outstanding debt, considering the disbursements as well as the IDC, is close to 22 billion rupees. On the equity front, last year we did some soul searching, and we did come up with this initiative called Sanchaykarta Hydro. I'll talk about this briefly. And we now have a hydropower company called Betan Karnali Sanchaykarta Hydropower Limited, through which we have moved ahead a Betan Karnali hydropower project, which is 688 megawatt project. If you look at the energy, it is, all of us will envy. It's more than the energy of the 1200 megawatt Buri Gandaki project. 4377 gigawatt hours is the preliminary estimate of this energy. And EPF will be assuming the financial closure of this project, which involves a funding of close to 80 billion rupees, including the IDC. The project is moving ahead. It's not only in stories. We are moving ahead. We've taken it very seriously. The feasibility and DPR document, we have given the job to NEA engineering company, and we see that we have planned that in another 16 months of time, probably a preliminary level of work on this level will be completed. We do understand the complexities involved if there is no sync with the transmission line. So we have already signed an MOU with the Rashtriya Prasaran Grid Company Limited, another initiative of the government of Nepal, NEA, such that the transmission line required for this project moves ahead. Now, I also had an opportunity to lead this particular company. It is a dedicated financial institution that was set up by the government of Nepal to bring in financing, long-term financing for middle to mega projects. By virtue of capital, it is one of the biggest capitalized financial institution, and in terms, it's a public company, and it's also big in terms of the number of shareholders. And through this company as well, we were able to achieve a substantial portfolio of projects. In my tenure, we did assess more than 25 projects of 15 to 86 megawatt, and we were able to finance in different projects close to 474.3 megawatt. And we did make equity investments on 3 different initiatives. Number one, Remit Hydro Limited. It was an initiative to harness the remittances that we receive in this country, such that we can use it and leverage it for the financing of a power project. We did obtain 2 hydropower projects, and this initiative is moving forward. And the other 2 was the equity investments in Power Transmission Company Limited, which is responsible for the Dhalkebar-Muzaffarpur cross-border transmission line, as well as the energy generation company. Now, why did I give you that background? Those backgrounds were given to you to share our experience. What is happening on Nepal, what is not happening in Nepal, what is happening on the project fronts, and what is not happening on the financing front. Now, let me begin by what is not happening or what is happening very slowly. Bigger projects and financing, these are moving very slowly. We've been talking for ages, just the previous presentation, just as what the Honorable Ambassador said. 40 years we've been, as I also, when I was a child, I used to read and reiterate that we have that potential, but we've not seen that. So bigger projects and its financing, they're very slow. Bilateral and multilateral finance in this country has again struck some bottlenecks where they are not moving in the right direction. There's too many strings attached. Project financing, pure project financing is yet to evolve. You need collaterals for financing of these projects. Instruments, project-specific instruments or general instruments to provide infrastructure finance is yet to happen, yet to mature. Dollar-denominated PPAs, there is a lot of confusion and chaos. Sovereign guarantees, mostly for investments coming from outside Nepal, is yet to mature. Country rating, we don't have a country rating, and thus the notion of international finance has reached its own stumbling block. And third country power expert, we just talked. It's yet to mature. Now what's happening? A number of mid-sized projects are happening in Nepal, and that's a very good sign. I think that there are more than 1,000 megawatt of projects that are under construction promoted by different IPPs in Nepal. And if you also consider the projects that NEA is considering through its subsidiary companies, be it Apatama Kosi, be it the Raswagadi and the Sanjan that I just talked about. So those things are happening in Nepal. Domestic finance is happening in Nepal. A number of, and we're really grateful that our central bank, Nepal Rashtra Bank, came in with that push in the monetary policy where banks and the financial institutions were required to have and build up a certain portfolio in productive sector, which did include hydropower. The capacity of both our financial institutions as well as our IPPs are developing, and they're maturing, which is a very good sign. Consortium for financing of projects, mid-sized projects. I don't think we have reached a stage where projects up to 50 megawatt can be financed entirely from domestic resources. The next barrier is, can we reach that 200 megawatt? And the consortium as well required for these projects is shrinking in time. Somehow, domestically financed projects are less expensive in terms of cost than those that have been financed by international money, and the data speaks for that. We are seeing newer structures of finance. For example, even in the dollar PPE, we are saying that, okay, it will not be all throughout the tenure that you'll get the dollar PPA, but it will be a mix of Nepali and dollar thing. We are seeing, as I said earlier, newer public is greatly being involved in the financing of these hydropower projects. All the hydropower projects are mostly now coming in terms of being a public company. There is a wider recognition that the surpluses of various government institutions, be it us, be it Nagarjunanikos, be it Nepal Telecom, etc., can be leveraged for the financing of infrastructure projects. There are dedicated financial institutions that is coming in. HIDCL was a good example of that. And prospects of instruments, this has to evolve, and we are talking about this. Now let me talk about these two initiatives that we initiated. Remit Hydro, basically, given the long period, 35 years of project structure that is there, a typical project can get constructed in 4 to 5 years of time, debt payback in another 10 years of time, and after that, the returns are there for the shareholders. That means it can also be a good retirement planning vehicle. It can be a good instrument for social security planning. And through that notion, the Remit Hydro initiative was initiated some 2 years back. We already obtained the licenses of these two projects, close to 125 megawatt. The notion was that for all those migrant workers who are working abroad, we wanted to allocate them shares, bring in their small money, probably in an installment manner, monthly or a periodic monthly installment. So they were contributing and saving towards their equity, and at a later stage, those equity could be reaped in, it will create wealth for them, and it will also create a assured set of revenue for their livelihood. So with this, Remit Hydro was initiated, and it is moving forward. They are currently in the DPR preparation stage, and they're working on the access road. Now on Sanjay Karta Hydro, it is an initiative entirely of EPF. We are a 256 billion enterprise. Our annual profit is close to 1.8 billion rupees. After deducting the reserves, we were redistributing all the money to our contributors. We are distributing close to 1.3 billion rupees annually, but to our members it was a meager 0.65%, or a 650 rupees on a fund of 1 lakh rupees that they were getting. So what we said was that to also complement the national requirement of power projects, what we said was that instead of cash, let's convert this into stock. And through that, we have come up with this Sanjay Karta hydropower, where we have already obtained the licenses of 688 megawatt Betan Karnali hydro project. If you look at the shareholding structure, the 40% of that equity belongs to our contributors, which we are going to contribute from our profits for the next 5 years. And thus, we aim to contribute close to 10 billion rupees from our profits, and it is something that our contributors will get it, and we are trying to create wealth for them. Also complementing, if this project really moves in another 6 to 7 years of time, we'll have added another 688 megawatt of capacity. Another project after 456 megawatt Upper Tamakosi will have moved in. So that is the thing. And we, EPF, are planning to lead the financing of this. It will be a banking consortium, non-banking consortium, and probably some users of instruments. Now, the country definitely has a goal. Here we also see a goal, 40,000 megawatt in 10 years. Government of Nepal came out with this document where they said that we definitely want to see 10,000 megawatt in another 10 years. And they have a clearly demarcated document which also contains policies and plans as to how to receive it. There is a significant gap. This gap has been acknowledged. If you look at the thing, our imports at this point of time has gone up significantly. So there is a requirement for boosting up our own generation capacity, and the plan is in motion. It is in motion. A separate holding company for electricity generation has already been started. It's called Electricity Generation Company Limited. Earlier, you would see that there were, for example, the Nalsingar project. It was in a Vikas Samiti or a development committee model. It has now been transferred to this particular company. This particular company also holds licenses of a couple of bigger projects. A separate company for transmission line has also evolved, Rashtriya Prasaran Gate Company Limited, which is moving ahead with all the transmission requirements of the country. A separate hydroelectricity engineering company has also been started, NE Engineering Company Limited. A company approach to earlier development company approach. This brings in more structure, more capabilities, and we've already seen this is happening. Bigger projects, now they are being released. A good example will be Betan Karnali, and IPP-based projects are also on the move. Now, what is the financing requirement? At this point of time, the hydropower projects with generation licenses, it's close to 2587 megawatt, and there is a current requirement of close to 439 billion rupees to finance this. The peaking run-of river, Government of Nepal has made it very clear that they are very much interested in peaking run of the river and storage projects. 1975 different projects have been identified. There is a requirement of 395 billion rupees. Storage projects, again, 10 different projects have been identified. There is close to 5373 megawatt, and there is a requirement of 1182 billion rupees. And then the transmission infrastructure, the export projects, and Pancheshwar. That means there is opportunity for private and public partnership. Now, to conclude, this picture can represent either a dusk or a dawn. it depends on your perspective. The story of hydropower in Nepal to many appears of missed opportunity, but I think it is yet of hope and great aspiration. I think the country was never better prepared as it is now to harness these water resources, and everybody is invited. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you indeed. We are very much apologetic as we cannot spare, as much time as we could. I know there is a lot of things that we want to say and share. In the midst of all this, we've had a very productive half-day events, which began from the inauguration session. But we have made a quick decision to review the schedule because of the, time that we have already run out almost about by 20 minutes, running late. In reviewing the schedule, with due apologies to our esteemed speakers, we have postponed two very important sessions to after the lunch. So that means we seek cooperation from all of you to quickly take your lunch and then get back for the remaining two sessions that would be held here at this very forum. Please be informed that the next paper presentation is an overview of energy scenario in SAARC region by Mr. Ali Haider, the Director of Energy, Transport, Science and Technology from the SAARC Secretariat, and the other one is on the Assemble Electricals in SEZ of Nepal. Please collect your lunch coupons from our secretariat or the help desk that's right outside this hall. Do not forget to take along the lunch coupon, and we expect you all back sharp by 13:55. That is 1:55 or sooner. Thank you so much. Have an enjoyable lunch. We will see you after that.